2037 Great Primordial God Rune. 2037 Great Primordial God Rune. A day later, Yemo checked the outside with his spirit sense. Just like before, his spirit sense was grinded as soon as it scanned out. Yemo could only hand himself over to fate. If there was a powerful being looking at his golden page world, he would be dead. After that, Yemo would check with his spirit sense once a day. On the fourth day, his spirit sense wasn't grinded. Yemo found in joy that his golden page world had brought him out of the chaotic law whirlpool. Yemo immediately came out of the golden page world. The golden page world had chaos chi, so it was extremely dangerous to leave it outside. An ancient chi came rushing into him. Countless Tao waves circulated around him. Yemo was dazed. What was this place? Was this the real God Necropolis domain? There were so many Tao waves here, making it many times easier to vindicate Tao than outside. Before, Yemo could check with his spirit sense. Another cold ancient chi swept over in his spirit sense. Yemo held his breath and didn't dare to move. He felt with his measly power he would be instantly turned to dust. Dang dang. A few bell sounds came from the extreme distance. It seemed to convey an ancient sorrow. It seemed to rob the soul away as each strike of the bell struck on Yemo's heart. Yemo couldn't stop it at all. His heart cracked and he spat a mouthful of blood. The chaos tree immediately released countless life force to repair Yemo's injuries. Yemo took in a cold breath. If this was the inside of the God Necropolis domain, it was too scary. Without the chaos tree, how could he survive here? The bell seemed to have crossed the universe. It came and left quickly in just a few seconds. The sound of beasts yelling, bell sounds, drum sounds, and magic artifact sounds smashed together. As it came, Yemo gradually got used to the terrifying environment here. If it wasn't for the chaos tree, he would have been dead many times. Yemo turned around and wanted to find that chaotic law whirlpool. He felt that although it was scary, he could still comprehend it. There was nothing he could comprehend in here. No matter how he searched, he couldn't find anything. The chaotic law wall was gone. Yemo carefully walked forward a few steps. His footsteps landed on the solid black ground. Each step created this echoing sound. Two wave-like cracks appeared on the pitch-black ground. Yemo's spirit sense scanned it, and there was this dizzy and murderous feeling. Yemo knew there were eerie things everywhere. He didn't dare to cross this rune. Instead, he took out a top-grade immortal artifact and careful threw it on the rune. When the top-grade immortal crystals fell on the ripple rune, it was instantly pulverized. Yemo took in a cold breath. Such powerful ripple rune. Who left such rune behind? It's been who knows how many years, but it was still this terrifying. He carefully SDA'd down as his spirit sense cut into the border of the rune. That dizzy and murderous feeling came again, but there were more things mixed. The endless space of the universe seemed to have been pressed on these two ripple runes, and then it disappeared. Space was devoured, and everything nearby seemed to have been destroyed by two runes forming a dark void. Yemo seemed to have been taken in by the two ripple runes and sunk into darkness. My Tao, great primordial, great beginning person, the beginning for form, great primordial God rune, tear the heavens and shatter the earth, destruction to everything. This was great God art, great primordial God rune. Yemo rejoiced and sunk all his mind into this rune. This was just a rune fragment left after battle, but it was a treasure to Yemo. This was his first time coming in contact with great God art, a great God art he could touch. Even though this God art was fragmented, Yemo didn't mind. The Tao waves and the powerful God art chi was devoured by Yemo and slowly became Yemo's. That sliver of Tao wave cleared up in Yemo's brain. After an unknown amount of time, Yemo suddenly woke up. He waved two God runes out. These two runes didn't leave any ripples in the sturdy space, but Yi-Emo knew his 2 God runes had a sliver of the great primordial God rune essence. When he perfected his own God art, this God rune would be his powerful, lethal blow. This is indeed the place of great Tao. Yi-Emo sighed. He finally realized. Those bell sounds, drum sounds, beast roars were all sorts of God art Tao runes and all sorts of Law Chi. If you had the capability, you can learn all sorts of God art law and learn all sorts of top means. Yi-Emo looked at the 2 great primordial God runes. They seemed to be blurring. Yi-Emo threw another top-grade immortal artifact on it, but there was no reaction. Yi-Emo realized that the Tao wave and Qi of the 2 great primordial God rune had been taken by him. From now on, the 2 great primordial God rune would slowly fade and disappear. Realizing the benefit of the God necropolis domain, Yi-Emo never thought about leaving again. Cultivation was struggling in danger. If he retreated in fear facing such great fortune, he would never achieve great Tao. Yi-Emo took out Zisu and put it on his back as he carefully moved forward. Yi-Emo wanted to find a place to vindicate Tao first, and then his survival abilities in here would be much strong. Then he would be able to gradually go to the center of the God necropolis domain. Rumble. A huge explosion sounded and Yi-Emo was shocked. Was there someone fighting in the God necropolis domain? Thinking about this, 2 figures dashed to him. Yi-Emo looked dazedly at these 2 figures. He had seen both of them. The yellow-robed figure was the immortal goddess, sacred sect immortal goddess, and the other one was the Tao nourishment divine emperor. As soon as Yi-Emo saw this Tao nourishment divine emperor, he turned to flee, but then he gave up this action. The Tao nourishment divine emperor's Qi was mess, and his spirit sense wave was erratic. Clearly, he was heavily injured. However, that immortal goddess was in a worse situation. Her clothes were broken, and her snow-white skin covered with blood. There was a terrifying wound on her chest. She was clearly in the lower hand, and moments later, she would be killed by the Tao nourishment divine emperor. Yi-Emo was shocked. Were all immortal goddesses respected? Why were they fighting like this? Yi-Emo didn't underestimate her at all. She was only Tao molding divine emperor, but could fight with Tao nourishment divine emperor to this degree. Yi-Emo didn't leave. That Tao nourishment divine emperor was clearly at his wit's end. He placed his spirit sense on the golden bow of divine extermination. When the 2 were almost done fighting, or when the Tao nourishment divine emperor killed the immortal goddess, he would draw the bow and kill the Tao nourishment divine emperor. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. 2038 9 flower petals fall. 2038 9 flower petals fall. When Yu Missouri saw the 2, they also saw Yi-Emo Bienshinda, was overjoyed. He didn't expect Yi-Emo to appear before him. He came here to find Yi-Emo. Now that Yi-Emo appeared, he didn't want to fight this woman anymore. He was very annoyed. If it wasn't that he was already injured, how could this Tao molding divine emperor be a match for him? Now they were both heavily injured. But even so, he wasn't worried. As long as he had one breath here, Yi-Emo, this immortal emperor, peak stage, would be an insect to him. He was further sure that Yi-Emo was able to come here due to 5-element world. When the immortal goddess saw Yi-Emo, she was also shocked. Yi-Emo was only immortal emperor power level. How could he come here? Even if he used means to cross to God necropolis domain border, it would be suicide to stay in such place covered in Tao waves. When she saw that Yi-Emo didn't leave, she knew that Yi-Emo wanted to wait for them to both be heavily injured and them come in. Thinking about this, she sneered. Even if her or the Tao nourishment divine emperor only had one breath left, Yi-Emo, an immortal emperor, wouldn't be able to take them both out. Thud! Another gray beam pierced the woman's ribs. There was a sliver of despair in her eyes. She knew that if she kept fighting, she would be dead for certain. She subconsciously looked at Yemo. At this moment, she wanted to ask Yemo to help. If Yemo could help, she might be able to kill this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. But Yemo just stared at them and didn't intend to fight at all. Seeing this, the woman sighed. She knew that the reason Yemo didn't help was because she didn't help him when he was about to be killed. There was karma in this world indeed. She ran her god essence more crazily after knowing that Yemo wouldn't help. A blue beam flashed and 9 flower petals fell. The killing intent dimension instantly became sad. An extremely sad chi diffused from these flower petals. The extremely terrifying lethal force of the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was also affected by the flower petals. It was as though it didn't want to damage these 9 flower petals. Yemo felt an extreme sadness come. He suddenly couldn't control his emotions and wanted to use his body to block that dark ray so that the woman wouldn't be hurt at all. At this moment, the yellow-robed immortal goddess became Luoying and looked at him deeply. If I go, don't miss me. When the 9 petals drifted down, it was powdered. If she's going to die, why should I live alone? Endless sadness rose up in Yemo's heart. He could no longer control his sadness and instantly released Zisu. At this moment, the chaos tree waved, sending over life force and chaos chi. Yemo instantly woke up and sweated cold. Such a terrifying god art. He had been cultivating under the bitter bamboo for so long and cultivated the 3-birth chant, but was almost caught in this. However, he didn't put away Zisu. Instead, his killing intent grew as though he was going to get revenge for the woman. Bien Shinda saw these 9 flower petals, and his face changed. However, his fan spun and enveloped him. When the sad Tao wave struck his fan, it only created some ripples. Seeing Yemo raise his magic artifact in sadness, he rejoiced. His target was no longer this woman, but Yemo. The woman saw Yemo's sadness and resolution and suddenly felt guilty. Her flower petals powder suddenly gathered and formed 9 flower petals again. These petals formed a blue light that wrapped around her as she disappeared. I will get revenge for you. These were her last words before she left. Yemo sneered, but didn't really attack with Zisu. He had released Golden Bow of Immortal Extermination and shot the first arrow out. The nearby space that was filled with sadness instantly became dead. Dense destructive chi was shot out from the golden bone arrow. This space was filled with Tao waves, but due to this arrow, the Tao waves dispersed. At this moment, there was only this arrow in this space. Bien Shindig could have stopped the woman from leaving, but Yemo was here, so how could he chase after that woman? He set his gaze on Yemo and released the yellow fan at Yemo. To him, it was all too easy to catch Yemo. He could catch Yemo like a small chicken. The fight golden scroll of destructive chill came at him and broke all the Tao waves nearby. Golden arrow of divine extermination. Bien Shinda immediately recognized this arrow. He swept the fan at this arrow without hesitation. Rumble. The golden arrow shot on the fan, and the lethal force split apart. The destructive killing intent was blocked by the fan, but at the same time the fan exploded. Bien Shinda didn't rejoice at all. He knew there were 9 arrows to the golden bow of divine extermination. He didn't know how many Yemo had. If Yemo had more than 5 and could shoot them all, he would be in danger today. Luckily, he saw form the first arrow that Yemo didn't completely spirit control the arrows. He could only release less than 5% of instant second power. To Bien Shinda, it was this little immortal emperor's cunning mind that was the scariest. He pretended to be mesmerized by the 9 flower petal god art, but he was actually very conscious. He released the purple sword, but he was actually releasing the golden bow of divine extermination. If it wasn't that their difference in power was too great, he would have been shot by the arrow. He didn't have the mood to check the broken fan. He released a huge seal. If his full power was here, he could crush Yemo just by reaching out his hand, but now he was too heavily injured. Yemo was shocked at the same time. This Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was too powerful. He was at his wit's end and could still block that ambush first arrow. If the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor wasn't heavily injured, then even if he had all 9 arrows, he wouldn't be able to touch him. At this moment, Yi Mo shot the second arrow without hesitation. The destructive killing intent swept up again, taking away all the life force of the space. Rumble. The second arrow was blocked by the fan again, but completely destroying it this time. Bien Shinda sneered. This fan had been with him for many years, but was destroyed today. He wasn't annoyed. If he dodged all the golden arrows, then he would win. The golden bow of divine extermination was hundreds of times better than his fan, and the 5-element world was something of his dreams. Yi Mo shot the third arrow without hesitation. He knew that even if all 4 arrows were blocked, he would have to fight with his life. If he ran, he would die a gruesome death. Thud! The third arrow smashed with Bien Shinda's huge seal. Even the sturdy space here was cracking. The golden arrow and seal flew out at the same time and smashed into the sturdy black ground, creating a terrifying ravine. Bien Shinda sneered. If it wasn't that his injuries were too heavy, how could Yi Mo shoot his seal away with 1 arrow? Wait! Bien Shinda suddenly woke up. His fan was destroyed and his seal was smashed away. Even though the arrow was shot at him and blocked by the seal, how could it fly away? It should fall before him. Moments later, Bien Shinda woke up. The third arrow wasn't shot at him, but the seal, so it could fly away. Bien Shinda immediately knew that since Yi Mo shot his seal away, Yi Mo wouldn't allow time for him to call back his seal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. 2039 Terrifying Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. 2039 Terrifying Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Such terrifying calculations. Bien Shinda actually shivered as he grabbed at the golden bone arrow with his hand. With his current state, the golden bone arrow would quite possibly crack his hand open, but as long as he grabbed it, he would have greater returns. As long as he had the 5-element world, he could grow his hand back at any time. Yi Mo's face was extremely pale. He didn't expect a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was this terrifying. He was already in such weakened state, and yet his 4 arrows didn't do much damage to him. If he didn't use instant second, this 4th arrow would definitely be stopped and at most blow his hand up. If Bien Shinda stopped the 4th arrow, then he would be dead for sure. Instant second, Yi Mo waved his hand and used his most powerful God art. When instant second was used, the surroundings paused. This entire space stopped moving. Bien Shinda's expression froze. When the golden bone arrow passed Bien Shinda's hand and shot at Bien Shinda's chest, Bien Shinda's hand suddenly moved. The entire space was moved away by him, and even the arrow was moved away. The golden bone arrow was aimed at his heart, but now it could only pass through his shoulders, brining out a spray of blood. Bien Shinda's face instantly became fatigued. Clearly, it wasn't easy for him to use space god art. Yi Mo was extremely shocked. He had already tried to overestimate Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, but this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was still this powerful. He broke free from his instant second and moved the space in front of him. Compared to the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's space law, Yi Mo felt like his space law was a baby learning to walk. This was a true great god art. Moving space. If Bien Shinda was fine, then even if he used instant second 100 times, it would just be a joke to him. Bien Shinda saw that his shoulder blade was blasted away and his face sunk. He grabbed the golden bone arrow and said coldly, "A little immortal emperor actually learned time law. No wonder you dared to stay behind. But I'm going to show you what true despair is." Yi Mo's face went as gray like his hair. For the first time he saw such a terrifying person. Was Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor truly this terrifying? And this was an extremely heavily injured Tao, Nourishment, Divine Emperor. Yi Emo truly realized how terrifying that Tao molding Divine Emperor Immortal Goddess was to be able to fight with this Tao Nourishment, Divine Emperor to this degree. Seeing the intense killing intent of this Tao Nourishment, Divine Emperor, Yi Emo knew he had no chance to hesitate. All his god art was nothing to this Bien Shinda. Yi Emo instantly decided to fight one last time and use the newly learned god art at full power. Great Primordial God Rune. Great Primordial God Rune was a great god art, but Yi Emo didn't have the power to release such god art. Essence blood and god essence was all burned by Yi Emo like crazy. His hair instantly grew out and he went from a bald monk to a long-haired man. However, his hair was gray and getting whiter. When Bien Shinda released his god art, Yi Emo raised his hand and said, "Slowly, great Primordial God Rune, tear the heavens and shatter the earth, destroy everything, great Primordial God Rune." Bien Shinda's face changed, and he immediately gave up his god art and turned to leave. The instant he turned, Bien Shinda was full of regret. There were countless regrets in one's lifetime, but Bien Shinda knew his greatest regret wasn't stopping Yi Emo, but turning away from the great Primordial God Rune. Great Primordial God Rune ignored space and time law, but Yi Emo was a mere immortal emperor. Even if he released Great Primordial God Rune, it would only have the look, but not the actual force. He didn't need to be scared. Such Great Primordial God Rune wouldn't even be able to break through his space law. Why did he need to run? Even if he took it on by force, he could still run away. However, there was only one chance, and now it was gone. He subconsciously wanted to run upon hearing the name of this terrifying great god artifact. Two subtle great Primordial God runes hit Bien Shinda, and his body started to distort and cripple. A Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor died to the name of a god art. This was sad, but it also showed the terrifying name Great Primordial God Rune had. Only those who have heard of it would know instant second terror. Yi Emo looked dazedly at this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. He really didn't believe this. He didn't understand why Bien Shinda ran when he released Great Primordial God Rune. With Bien Shinda's power, even if he walked over the two great Primordial God Runes, he wouldn't die, much less his newly learned Great Primordial God Rune. It might injure him more, but definitely wouldn't be able to kill him. Just what is Great Primordial God Rune? It made a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor the scared of it? Yi Emo murmured and looked at his hand. He was planning to use instant transmission, the instant Bien Shinda stopped Great Primordial God Rune. He couldn't even care about his 4 bow and arrows. However, he didn't expect that the Great Primordial God Rune just annihilated this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. A wave of weakness came. Yi Emo didn't dare to keep thinking. He quickly took his golden bow and arrows, as well as Bien Shinda's storage ring and magic artifact, and turned to leave. He desperately needed to find a place to recover. Yi Mo's injury was worse than Bien Shinda, but luckily the chaos tree kept nourishing his body. Even with 1 extra second, his injuries would recover a lot. After Yi Emo left for 15 minutes, he suddenly felt things weren't good. He didn't see the essence, spirit of that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Was his essence, spirit, killed by the Great Primordial God Rune? Yi Emo was suspicious. If a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor essence, spirit hid, it was normal that he couldn't see it. Thinking about this, Yi Emo became more worried. He changed a direction and fled. Regardless if that essence spirit was killed, he had to find a place to recover and vindicate Tao first. After Yi Emo left, Bien Shinda's essence spirit suddenly appeared. He stared at Yi Mo's direction and cursed. If I, Bien Shinda, don't pull your bones and burn your soul, I swear I'm not human. As soon as he said this, he screamed. A crack appeared in his essence spirit, and his essence spirit dimmed down even more. I hate this. Great Primordial God Rune's runic path. Bienshinda's essence, spirit howled and finally disappeared. The terror of the great primordial god rune wasn't just with instant second rune, but also the runic path left behind. If the person was still within the range of the rune, he would be killed by the runic path left behind. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. 2040 Sever Dao molding. 2040 severed Dao molding when Bienshinda's essence, spirit, disappeared. A bead fell down. However, Yemo didn't know about this at all. He just wanted to find a place to recover. Who took the two great primordial god rune Dao waves here? A bald-headed old man stood where the two great primordial god rune waves were. Who dares to rob my business? The old man roared, but then he calmed down. The reason the great primordial god rune was left here for countless years without being learned was because ordinary people couldn't learn it at all. Almost everyone who entered the god necropolis domain would come here to learn the great primordial god rune, but none of them have succeeded. Gongyang got quite some fortune at the god necropolis domain this time, and came back to see if he could learn the great primordial god rune. However, the great primordial god rune was gone. He calmed down so quickly because he could image that the person who learned this rune wouldn't be simple. Since the person learned great primordial god rune, even he might not be a match for this person. Gongyang sighed dejectedly. It seems I can only go to life-sucking barren restriction. I've stayed outside all these years just for the two great primordial god runes, but it's still not mine, sigh. Gongyang sighed and disappeared. In a very subtle place in the god necropolis domain, Yemo let out a long breath in the golden page world. He had been recovering in the golden page world for many years with the help of the chaos tree before recovering. There were too many dangers in the god necropolis domain, but there were equally as many fortunes. If he didn't see the two great primordial god runes and learned it, he might have been dead already. He completely didn't expect that a Dao nourishment divine emperor would be this terrifying. Although he knew he would benefit more if he went out, Yemo didn't dare to go out. There were divine emperors everywhere in this god necropolis domain. Before Dao vindication, he was worse than an insect. If he vindicated Dao, he believed that he wouldn't even fear a Dao nourishment divine emperor. He opened the two storage rings. He got a decent magic artifact from Lien Chisue's ring and 300k god crystals. As for god pills and god spirit herb, they were very rare. What made Yemo overjoyed was the Dao nourishment divine emperor's ring. There was not only a low-grade god spirit range, but also 2 million god crystals, as well as all sorts of god spirit herbs and forgery materials that were stacked in piles. If it was before, Yemo would definitely organize the god spirit herb and materials first, but now Yemo immediately took out the god crystals and god spirit range into the golden page world and set up a top-level spirit gathering formation. He needed god crystals and god spirit range to vindicate Dao. Although Dao vindication was mainly about learnings and enlightenments and not infinitely devouring god spirit chi was still a necessity. Just in case, Yemo set Chiu Rang, Shadowless, and Small Ginseng into the blue bead world. It wouldn't be good if something went wrong with his Dao vindication due to these three. Yemo sat under the bitter bamboo. The chaos tree spun in his dantian. In the golden page world, Yemo completely relaxed. His essence, spirit, and consciousness had fused into one with his chaos world. Yemo chose to vindicate Dao in the golden page world. He didn't have time to go find time law, whirlpool, nor space law, whirlpool. After learning great primordial god rune, he had given up that way of Dao vindication. Using law whirlpool to vindicate Dao could allow him to learn law god art and then vindicate Dao. But this changed when Yemo killed a Tao nourishment divine emperor with great primordial God rune. He believed it was easy to vindicate Tao with the law whirlpool, but there was limitations to this Tao. It would make him unable to surpass Tao in the future. The three-birth chant Tao vindication was different to other Tao vindication methods. Three-birth chant vindicated the chaos Tao and surpassed the heavens. So when the five elements were united in the Golden Page world, Yemo had decided to vindicate Tao in his chaos world. He was going to use Golden Page world as a bridge to vindicate the chaos great Tao. At the great primordial, there was nothing. Nothing had the name nothing. At the beginning of one, there was one, but no form. Great primordial person, the beginning of Qi. Great primordial had Tao. Tao existed with spirit. Waves of great primordial law and great primordial Tao wave formed in Yemo's will. The more he understood this Tao wave, the greater the great primordial Tao wave was. Yemo's face suddenly changed. Great primordial God rune was just a great primordial God rune of his. He had already decided to not vindicate Tao through God art. How come everything he learned was related to great primordial? If this continued, even if he vindicated Tao, he would never vindicate the Tao he needed. Plus, great primordial had Tao. Tao existed with spirit, such was not even accepted by Sikongshan. Even Yemo felt it was wrong. How could such theory exist in his will? The three-birth chant derived a Tao with great courage, great wisdom, and great perseverance. Not small tricks and games in God art Tao vindication. Yemo showed resolution on his face. He severed with a spirit sense, without hesitation, sever great, primordial God, rune, rumble. An explosion sounded in Yemo's spirit will. Yemo's face went paler, and he spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The newly learned two great, primordial God, runes were severed. At the beginning of chaos, Tao formed 5 elements BOM. Something flowed. It had no shape nor matter. It was time. The instant of time can become eternity. Yemo's face changed again. In order to vindicate Tao, he severed great, primordial God, rune God art, but it turned into instant, second-time God art. At this rate, he was going to vindicate Tao through his instant, second God art and time law. He was certain that if he did this, his instant second God art would be hundreds of times stronger. But Yemo didn't want such Tao. Such Tao was no different to great, primordial God rune. I will vindicate Tao chaos, the most high Tao sever. Yemo was extremely resolute and severed his God art instant second. Sever God, art shatter sky. Sever God, art 5 lightning spear destruction. Sever God, art crevice. Yemo's face went paler. The God arts he learned after countless hard work were severed mercilessly by him. He would sever any God art that influenced him from vindicating great chaos Tao. Rumble. When Yemo severed his final God art void, he had fused with his chaos world. At this moment, he was connected to the chaos world. He saw everything and heard in the Golden Page world. He knew when a speck of dust moved in his Golden Page world. There started to be space ripples in the Golden Page world space, as though the entire world was waving. The border of the chaos expanded. The entire Golden Page world expanded more than 100 times. Under the bitter bamboo, Yemo found that the laws of this world became more perfected. The laws that he saw before but didn't understand became easier to understand. Yemo's figure condensed, and he suddenly got up. A powerful qi filled the Golden Page world. His gray hair turned black and no longer had the weakened qi. The God arts he severed circulated around him and soon fused with the chaos qi. They were learnt by Yemo again and soon completely fused as one with Yemo. There was no lightning, just a chaos rainbow cloud falling from the sky and landing on Yemo. There was an extremely satisfying feeling. Yemo raised his fist and punched. A huge ripple formed before his fist. He could let this punch smash any corner at this moment. Yemo breathed. He realized that after fusing with the God arts again, they became stronger. More importantly, they truly became his. He could easily turn them into great God art in the future. Yi Mo devoured the chaos rainbow cloud, and suddenly a message appeared in his spirit will. He had molded Chaos Tao. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2041 Sane." 2041 Sane, he just suddenly molded Tao. Yi Mo was a little surprised. He thought Tao vindication would be very hard, but after he resolutely severed Tao, he vindicated Tao. If he was any bit reluctant, he wouldn't be able to vindicate the Tao he needed, feeling his powerful strength and the clear world laws. Yi Mo knew he needed to go into solitary cultivation and organize what he had learned, as well as the follow-up cultivation method of three-birth chant in Tao vindication. After Tao vindication, it was mainly about learning Tao, but it didn't mean you didn't need cultivation method. Without it, your cultivation couldn't progress. Yi Mo didn't know how much time he used to vindicate Tao. When he called Shadowless and Small Ginseng, Yi Mo realized that despite seeming like a short time, it had been more than 10 years. Yi Mo went into solitary cultivation again. Time flew by, but Yi Mo knew Tao molding even clearer. There was Tao molding Divine Emperor, Tao nourishment Divine Emperor, and Tao actualization Divine Emperor after Immortal Emperor. After reaching Tao actualization Divine Emperor, you could enter the second stage. Tao Essence Divine Emperor was the second stage, powerful being. In order to Tao Essence Divine Emperor, it's purely about learning and stacking of resources. Even if you're extremely smart, you wouldn't be able to achieve Tao Essence. Even if you have mountains of resources, if you don't have great learning capabilities, you couldn't achieve Tao Essence. It was because of this that even in the easy to vindicate Tao God Necropolis domain, Tao Essence Divine Emperor were extremely rare. Each Tao Essence Divine Emperor was extremely powerful and unique. As he derived, Yi Mo felt the Tao he molded was different to ordinary Tao molding Divine Emperor. Although his power increased infinitely, he only vindicated a part of the Chaos Tao. Only when he reached primordial chaos would he perfect his Tao. Far away from Yi Mo in the immortal goddess sacred sect, Mu Xiaoyan got up in surprise and joy. She reached great unity immortal. Xiaoyan, you reached great unity immortal. Luo Biwa came over. Mu Xiaoyan opened the restriction and said with a face of joy, "Yeah, Sister Biwa, I feel cultivating here is better than the small heaven domain. My immortal essence is also denser. Xiaoyan, we're cultivating with God's spirit chi here. Of course our power would be stronger. You need to be used to saying God essence. Immortal essence isn't this dense." Luo Biwa said happily. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. "MHM, if I was still at the small heaven domain, I would at most be abstruse immortal middle stage. If I continue at this speed, it wouldn't be long until I reach immortal emperor." Luo Biwa knew what Mu Xiaoyan thought and said, "Xiaoyan, I know you want to bring up your cultivation level fast, but you must know that if you rush cultivation, it will be detrimental. Even with how I'm recovering my cultivation level, I'm doing it in an orderly fashion. Later on, cultivation isn't just about taking in more essence chi, it's also about learning and enlightenments." Mu Xiaoyan quickly answered, "I know, Sister Biwa." Just when Luo Biwa wanted to talk, a few distant bells sounded. She looked at the direction and said, "There must be something at Immortal Goddess Peak. It has nothing to do with us. Immortal Goddess, Sacred Sect, sounds like a big sect, but they're so stingy. If Master didn't take us in, we would have been dead already. Sister Biwa, I want to find a place to test my power." Mu Xiaoyan asked, "Okay, as long as we don't leave Lanyi Peak. No matter how arrogant those people are, they wouldn't come to our peak." Luo Biwa also wanted to see how Mu Xiaoyan was after reaching Great Unity Immortal. Mu Xiaoyun's cultivation method was a top-notch cultivation method that even her master felt was good. Other than learning the beauty cultivation method of the immortal goddess sacred sect, she didn't need to change anything. It's good that both of you are here. You don't need to go test your cultivation level. There's something big in the sect. Come with me to Immortal Goddess Palace. Lan Qilan said softly. Seeing their master come, the two quickly bowed. Master, are we going too? Xiaoyan, Luo Biwa said hesitantly. Lan Qilan understood, of course. They were hiding in Lan Yi Peak as they didn't want to go out and get abused by other disciples. Lan Qilan smiled. It's fine coming with me this time. Don't go to other places after the Immortal Range Palace. Just come back here directly. This thing is very serious. All the direct sect members of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect must participate, so you guys must come too. Yes, Master. Luo Biwa and Mu Xiaoyan quickly said. The tallest peak in Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was the Immortal Goddess Peak, and the biggest palace was the Ice God Palace. The distant bell sound spread across the sect. Countless Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect members flew towards the palace. The two knew they had little status here, so they followed their master closely. Dang! When the final bell sounded, almost all the sect members were here. There were at least more than 1,000 sect members here. There was indeed no ugly women in the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect. Mu Xiaoyan couldn't see through their power level, but in this palace, she felt she was the weakest. At the very top sat a purple-robed woman. Mu Xiaoyan just snuck a glance at her and felt a powerful spirit sense fall on her. She quickly looked down. The palace was silent. The purple-robed woman scanned the sect members and said slowly, Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect had been in the divine Tao realm for countless years and have even become the most powerful and respected sect in the divine Tao realm. We're respected because our sect once saved the divine Tao realm, but also because of our power. The divine Tao realm is broken and Tao vindication is getting harder and harder. Our Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect is far better than other sects, but we're still facing such trouble. 100 years ago, our Saint Ji, she left the sect and went to God Necropolis domain to seek Tao. However, 20 years ago, her soul lamp became extremely dim, and these few days it's about to go out. The quiet palace finally erupted in chatter. A high-status divine emperor asked desperately, In the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, the saint's soul lamp must always remain lit. If it was annihilated, it would mean that the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect was going to decline. So every saint of the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect would have escape, means even if they were about to be killed. At the very least, their essence spirit would be able to escape. Luo Biwa and Mu Xiaoyan could tell this purp-robed woman's voice was a bit coarse, and she was the sect leader that let them stay. After the chatter went down a bit, the purple-robed woman said again, I think everyone knows why the Immortal Range bell was rung. The palace fell silent. Everyone realized that it was the day to choose a new saint and light up the saint's soul lamp again. The saint had very unique status in the Immortal Goddess Sacred Sect, but she had unique responsibilities. She must be ready to sacrifice for the sect at any time. She lived and died for the sect. The purple-robed woman sighed. We have plenty of sect members, but it's very hard to find one with saint talent. Sect leader, in terms of talent, we really do have one. Her talent is even better than Saint Jishi. A gray-robed woman got up and said. The sect leader's face changed as she said, Yunhui, which one? The gray-robed woman quickly said, Out of the two disciples Qilan Marshall's sister took in, there's one called Mu Xiaoyan. She reached Great Unity Immortal from abstruse Immortal Primary Stage in 20 years. Such cultivation speed is extremely hard to find even in the divine Tao realm. This Yunhui woman was the one who looked at Mu Xiaoyan with killing intent. Mu Xiaoyan didn't understand why this Yunhui always tried to sabotage her. Qi Lanqi couldn't resist it and got up, sect leader. Xiaoyun is only great unity immortal cultivation level, and she has married someone before. How can she be saint? Martial sister Yunhui, you said before that Xiaoyun lost her virginity and didn't allow her to stay in the sect. What is your intention proposing for her to be saint? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Lose half soul. 2042 lose half soul seeing her master's desperate tone. Mu Xiaoyan knew there was something strange about this saint. Yunhui calmly said, "Martial sister Qilan, I thought wrong before. Sect leader already told me the ocean takes in all the rivers. Our sect had people who lost their virginity before." Lan Qilan's face went green. She knew Yunhui was talking about her mom and Martial sister, but she knew now wasn't the time to argue about this. She immediately got up and wanted to say something, but the purple-robed woman said, "Qilan, you don't get to decide this. Xiaoyan, stand out." Hearing this, Qi Lanqi didn't dare to say anything and sat down with a pale face. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoyan quickly stood out and bowed. Lanyi Peak Mu Xiaoyan greet sect leader. MHM. The sect leader studied Mu Xiaoyan for a while and said, "Not bad. Dense essence qi and astounding cultivation progress. Xiaoyan, you're a sect members of the immortal goddess sacred sect. Are you willing to be our saint?" Mu Xiaoyan replied respectfully, "Sect leader, I'm already a married woman. My life goal is to cultivate successfully and go back to see my husband." The purple-robed woman frowned and asked, "Who is your husband?" Mu Xiaoyan didn't dare to hide and told her everything about Yimo. The purple-robed woman said nicely, "According to what you said, there's no way your husband can find the teleportation formation you left the magical continent with. It seems your husband is probably not alive anymore. The magical continent doesn't even have spirit qi. How can one cultivate Tao? Sect member only has husband in my heart. I don't dare to seek the saint position. Please see this sect leader." Mu Xiaoyan said. Lan Qilan was very worried. She could reject Yunhui, but it didn't mean she could reject the sect leader. Mu Xiaoyan was her disciple, and yet dared to object to the sect leader. "How dare you, Mu Xiaoyan? You're a small sect member of a mortal goddess, sacred sect, and you dare to talk to the sect leader like this?" Yunhui reproached. Yunhui then said to the purple-robed woman, respectfully, "Lan Qilan is a Tao-molding divine emperor of the immortal goddess, sacred sect, and yet the disciples she taught are this rude. Sect leader, if our immortal goddess, sacred sect, continues like this, it would no longer have the attributes of the number one divine sect. I believe many people have already forgot about the prison door mountain. Sect leader." The purple-robed woman raised her hand and looked calmly at Mu Xiaoyan. "We'll do things like this. Qilan, Mu Xiaoyan is your disciple. She has no respect for elders, and it's your responsibility. Your master was extremely talented, but fell to such consequence due to one decision. I hope you make your decisions wisely." Lan Qilan knew that if she dared to say anything else, she would be sent to the prison door mountain. Her master died in there, and if she went, she wouldn't be able to come back too. Mu Xiaoyan didn't dare to talk anymore too. Her master told her the story about it. The purple-robed woman waved out a bronze lamp. There were slivers of sparkles inside that could be annihilated at any time. Everyone looked at the lamp and realized that it was indeed about to go out. The purple-robed woman grabbed, and Mu Xiaoyan felt something leave her body. The purple-robed woman took out the small light in the lamp and put the thing she grabbed in taut, he lamp. Finally, the spark went out, but the lamp lit up brightly. Lan Chilan's face changed and couldn't resist saying, "Sect leader." Only one sliver of spirit is needed to light up the lamp. Why, before Lan Chilan could finish, the purple-robed woman said coldly, "Chilan, you've made many mistakes. If you do so again, then go to the prison, Door Mountain." "Yes, sect leader." Lan Chilan bowed with a pale face. The purple-robed woman then looked at Mu Shaoyin. "Shaoyin, you're now the saint of Immortal Goddess, sacred sect. You can't go back to Lanyi Peak. Stay at Immortal Range Peak." "Yes, sect leader." Mu Xiaoyun's heart was cold. How could she not know now that if she resisted, her master would be thrown into the prison Door sect? Without her master, she would have long been killed already. Seeing Mu Xiaoyun agree, the purple-robed woman's face eased. She looked at Yunhui and said, "The previous saint is still stuck in the god Necropolis domain. You and Rueitsai go have a look." "Yes, sect leader." Yunhui bowed, and another blue-robed woman bowed too. "Master, is Xiaoyun okay?" Luo Blayu asked immediately when they returned to Lanyi Peak. Mu Xiaoyan was already like a sister to her. She didn't want anything bad to happen to Mu Xiaoyan. Lan Chalan sighed and shook her head. "Xiaoyan is fine for now, but I always have a bad feeling. It's definitely the sect leader's will for Xiaoyan to be saint. As for what the sect leader wants Xiaoyan to do, I don't know. Sai, one only needed a sliver of spirit will for the soul lamp, but the sect leader took half of Xiaoyan's soul." Lan Chalan felt this thing was very strange, but she couldn't think of why. Luo Biwa was shocked. People had 3 souls and 7 spirits. If half a soul was gone, it meant that the soul was incomplete. One couldn't achieve Tao through this. How could the saint of Immortal Goddess, sacred sect, not vindicate Tao? Even if Master didn't respond, she realized that Mu Xiaoyan was not the real saint. She was just a temporary substitute. Such sect dared to call itself Immortal Goddess, sacred sect. It was insult to these words. There was nothing her master could know and nothing she could do. She could only pray that Mu Xiaoyan would be fine. In the god Necropolis domain, 10,000 kilometers from Yimo's solitary cultivation grounds, there was an extremely huge, even spirit sense couldn't scan to the bottom of this fist print. There were Tao waves ravaging in the fist print. People can easily be torn to pieces by the Tao waves. Those who came to the god Necropolis domain all knew that this fist was punched out by an ancient primordial essence, Divine Emperor. In the depth of the fist print, there was a pond filled with purple water, and above the pond floated a woman with broken yellow robes. If Yi Mo was here, he would recognize her to the immortal range who fought the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Her chi was very weak and seemed about to die at any time. But the purple well water below her rose up, purple chi that enveloped her. Her chi was getting weaker, but her heavily injured body was getting smoother. The wounds left by the battle were already gone. Eventually the purple chi dimmed to a stop. When the purple chi completely disappeared, the life force of this woman disappeared. A few seconds later, her life force suddenly rose. The woman flipped up and stood in the air of the colorless pond. She murmured, "Where is this? How did I get here?" She soon realized she was in rags and quickly put on a new set of clothes. After this, she exclaimed in shock, "How come I don't sense the divine sect soul lamp? What is going on?" She looked at her white hand in even more shock. She moved, and the nearby space was taken away. There's no connection to the soul lamp, but my cultivation level reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. What is going on? She stood dazedly in the void. She walked over the pond and landed on the side as she recollected her memories. Before, she battled a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, and they were both injured. Then, both of them saw an immortal emperor peak stage, who was the one she didn't help before. That immortal emperor wanted to be the ultimate hunter behind them, so she used that idiot immortal emperor to escape. Then, she came to the primordial essence, Fist Ditch. She wanted to fly over it, but she was too heavily injured and was brought inside by the Tao waves. Luckily, her protection laws around her were activated and let her survive. She was swept by a nearby space whirlpool and floated above a purple pond. Right, the purple pond turned her into this. What pond water could let her go from Tao molding divine emperor straight to Tao nourishment divine emperor? It also washed off everything related to the divine sect on her. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. (2040) Tao Mark Shenanigan. 2040 Tao Mark Shenanigan. EMO stood on the god necropolis domain surface again. The nearby ancient chi gave him less shock, but EMO felt his chi was strange. In the golden page world, he was definitely Tao, a molding divine emperor, but in the god necropolis domain, he felt his chi was still at a mortal emperor peak stage. It was at most half divine. EMO was certain that he didn't stealth his cultivation method, but his cultivation level showed at a mortal emperor. Was the Tao he vindicated inside the golden page world not recognized by the outside world? In his shock, EMO raised his hand and punched out. Fist God Art Void. This was his earliest god art and had a sliver of space law. Before, he could brought about the space lethal force with killing intent, but now all the space was brought up in the fist force, and the sharp killing intent gathered in the space. Thud! The sturdy space was punched out ripples, but this punch. The sturdy ground was punched out a huge ravine. This punch was no longer killing intent, brining out space lethal force, but fist force bringing about space. This was far stronger than before. EMO breathed easy. Although his chi showed at Immortal Emperor, his cultivation level was completely a real Tao molding divine emperor. As long as his cultivation level was there, it was fine for EMO. Without the actual power, it was pointless even if he appeared to be primordial essence divine emperor. 2 hours later, EMO stood before a huge fist ditch. He was extremely shocked. Ever since he vindicated Tao, he had a systematic understanding of laws. His god art was changing into a law god art, and he punched out a huge ditch as well. This fist ditch was countless times bigger than his. His spirit sense couldn't even scan to the bottom. He didn't even know how big this fist hole was. EMO had seen many battle marks, and ones more terrifying than this one outside the god necropolis domain. But EMO knew that the space here was more than 100 times stronger, and so was the ground. What shocked him the most wasn't instant second size, but the terrifying Tao wave chi inside. Even with his Tao molding divine emperor spirit sense, it was grinded immediately. To be able to leave such terrifying fist hole and such terrifying Tao wave, this person was more than 100 times stronger than him. EMO's joy of vindicating Tao was long gone. He didn't know if this was left behind by primordial essence divine emperor or not. If it really was, then the terror of primordial essence divine emperor was unimaginable. One can actually cultivate to such extent and leave such a terrifying fist hole in the god necropolis domain. If it was outside, couldn't one punch destroy half the broken divine Tao realm? EMO murmured. After saying this, EMO seemed to have grasped something, but this thing was very subtle, making it hard for him to completely grasp it. Insolent. A cold voice sounded. And then a yellow figure rose out of the fist hole. "It's you!" EMO took a few steps back and stared at her with vigilance. She knew this woman. She was the Tao molding divine emperor who fought with that Tao nourishment divine emperor. She was now a Tao nourishment divine emperor too. There was a sliver of shock in her eyes as she said coldly, "I didn't expect a mere immortal emperor like you can not only survive in the god necropolis domain, but also escape a Tao nourishment divine emperor. I underestimated you." Although she said this coldly, her voice was extremely pleasant. She guessed that Yemo had a lot of secret, but she didn't ask. Who here dined have secrets? Those who didn't have secrets have long turned to dust in the river of time. Yemo just stared at her coldly and said nothing. Despite this woman being extremely pretty, he knew she wasn't easy to mess with. When she was still a Tao molding divine emperor, she could fight to death with a Tao nourishment divine emperor. Now that she was Tao nourishment divine emperor, who knows if she could match with Tao actualization divine emperor. Plus, his spirit sense was immediately grinded, OT nothing inside, but she could fly out of the fist hole. Just from this, she was stronger than him. Yemo had never fought with Tao actualization divine emperor, but he knew that it was probably a bit hard for him to beat a Tao actualization divine emperor, but it wasn't easy for Tao actualization divine emperor to beat him either. On the account of what happened before, I'll tell you something. I said you were insolent as you don't know what this place was when this punch landed. When this punch landed, this place was still the hardest place in the divine Tao realm. It was 10 times harder than now. The immortal range said coldly. Yemo knew that she meant on the account of using him to escape before, however. He was still shocked by what she said. The space was 10 times tougher than now. What notion was that? That punch wouldn't even be something he could fathom. If you dared to go in the fist hole, the Tao waves could kill you at any time. Then the immortal range was turning to leave. Wait, Yemo suddenly stopped her. The immortal range stopped and looked at Yemo calmly. I'm saying this because you happen to help me a little bit. If you think that's saving my life and want to use that against me, then I suggest you give up that thought. Even without you, that person wouldn't be able to kill him. Yemo said, use that against you? You think too highly of yourself. I just want to ask what's the way out. If you tell me, then I won't care about you using me before. Won't care? The immortal range shook her head. Don't even think about going out. Coming in the God Necropolis domain is for vindicating primordial essence. If you don't reach primordial essence divine emperor, no one wants to go out and no one can go out. The immortal range said calmly. Yemo frowned and she added, those divine emperors who came in here and didn't die would go to the outskirts of the life, crippling barren restriction. Some of them have gone in. If you have the guys to go, you can ask them. I've only been in here for a few decades, but on the way to the life, crippling barren restriction, there's law Tao waves everywhere. Some are calm, but some are lethal. Countless divine emperors have died on the way there. Her last sentence was clearly to warn Yemo not to go, as he was only an immortal emperor. Where is it? What she didn't expect was that Yemo still asked how to go. The immortal range looked at Yemo speechlessly. She said it so obviously, but Yemo still wanted to know how to go there. You really want to go there? The immortal range repeated. That's right. Tell me where it is, and our conflict is gone. Otherwise, even when you vindicate Tao essence, you'll feel bad as you used an innocent person and almost got him killed. Yemo said. She had never even cared about using Yemo. She didn't care at all if Yemo died. But now it was different. Yemo brought this up and said it might affect her Tao essence. This was very sly. She didn't care about it at all and definitely wouldn't remember the Tao essence, but now that Yemo said it, her mindset might actually crack a little due to this. This might ruin her Tao essence. For the first time, she looked at Yemo seriously. Without a clear understanding of great Tao, he wouldn't be able to say this. Only those who vindicated Tao and understood Tao vindication would say this. Was Yemo a Tao nourishment divine emperor too, and just hid his power? The more she thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Otherwise, how could he escape from a Tao nourishment divine emperor? I told you a lot before just because we've had a common enemy. You might have casually helped me, but I don't feel you owe me anything. The immortal range said coldly. She must not leave a mark in her heart due to this. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2044 Primal Stage, Sword Dao. 2044 Primal Stage, Sword Dao Yi Mo smiled. Playing Dao Mark shenanigans with me. Even if you're Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor, you're still a far cry from me. Yi Mo said calmly because you used me. You feel guilty. That's why you said a lot. In fact, your words didn't help me at all. It just wasted some time. You used me. It's a small thing to you, but it's life or death to me. If I wasn't lucky, I would be dead now. You need to know that you were the one who was supposed to die." The immortal goddess's face went pale. She knew she couldn't keep talking now. This thing has already left an extremely deep mark in her heart. If she didn't remove this mark, she definitely wouldn't be able to reach Tao essence. The road to life, crippling barren restriction, is very far. Even if a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor comes in, there's less than half chance that they can reach there. It's not that I don't want to tell you where it is, but even I don't know where it is. The immortal goddess said. Yi Mo dazed. He thought that the reason she argued with him till now was because she doesn't want to tell him where it is. In the end, she actually didn't know. Why didn't she say it earlier? Are you not going to life, crippling barren restriction? Yi Mo asked in disappointment. If she wasn't going, he would leave immediately. I am going to the life, crippling barren restriction. The immortal goddess said helplessly. Yi Mo sneered. You just told me you didn't know where it is, and now you're telling me you're going there. Haha, your immortal goddess, sacred sect, is such a trash sect? Full of lies. The immortal goddess's face sunk. If you dare to say anything else about the immortal goddess, sacred sect, I will kill you here. Yi Mo laughed and raised his hand. Su appeared in his hand, and he also said, If you want to fight, then fight. Would I be scared of a woman like you? The immortal goddess didn't fight. Yi Mo could escape from that Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, and she felt things was strange. But if Yi Mo stealthed his cultivation level, why did he keep asking her about the life, crippling barren restriction? All those who vindicated Tao in the God Necropolis domain can feel the calling of the God Necropolis domain. You're a mere immortal emperor. Of course you can't sense it. Feeling its call doesn't mean you know where it is. Some people have felt its calling and haven't been able to get there after a few hundred years. The immortal goddess said calmly. Hearing this, Yi Mo's face blushed. He vindicated Tao in the Golden Page world. No wonder he couldn't feel the calling of the life, crippling barren restriction. Are you going to the life, crippling barren restriction? Yi Mo put away Su and asked casually. Seeing this, the immortal goddess got less angrier and answered, Yes. Very well, I will follow you. After we get there, the conflict between us will be over. You can cast aside the burden and reach your Tao essence, Divine Emperor. Yi Mo immediately said. Yi Mo then added, As long as you're heading towards the life, crippling barren restriction, even if I'm killed by the Tao waves of the God Necropolis domain, it has nothing to do with you, and our conflict will also be gone. The immortal goddess ignored Yi Mo and started to go. She didn't believe a mere immortal emperor can keep up with her. If something happened to Yi Mo on the way, she definitely wouldn't help. Yi Mo knew what she was thinking, of course, but he didn't care. She went very fast and didn't even care about some of the Tao waves. For hours later, she stopped and looked coldly at Yi Mo. You're a Tao Vindication Divine Emperor, and yet you act as an immortal emperor. You're following me with such low means. Don't you think it's shameless? If you're thinking of getting close to me in such way, I'm telling you it won't work. Since Yi Mo could keep up to her, he definitely wasn't an immortal emperor. In that case, Yi Mo can definitely sense the calling of the life, crippling barren restriction. since he knows how to get there and still wanted to follow her. He was clearly doing this on purpose. Since Yi Emo didn't know what treasure she had, he came for her. Yi Emo sneered. "You're not the princess you think you are. I heard the women from a mortal goddess, sacred sect, aren't very talkative. Why do you have so much shit to say? Just lead the way. Any of my wives are prettier than you." The immortal goddess was almost shaking with anger. Luckily, she still had reason and just ignored Yi Emo as she sped up. 3 days later, she stopped. Before her was this land of pebble stones filled with death. There was a long single-edged sword rune and a long double-edged sword rune crossed together. The heaven-covering Tao wave was emanating murderous intent. It made the already lifeless place more suffocating. As soon as the two walked in, the pebbles on the stone immediately turned to dust. The immortal goddess came up to the double-edged sword rune and sat down. Yi Emo knew that she wanted to learn the god art there. He went to the single-edged sword rune and sat down. Even if she didn't sit down, Yi Emo would sit down to feel the sword Tao waves. If she didn't want to wait for him, he would use words to make her. Yi Emo devoured waves of Tao runes. He saw a huge man waving the sword ray in his hand. The sword ray sliced a crack in the void. Meanwhile, his opponent pierced out a double-edged sword. It seemed very plain, but it could stop that heaven-tearing single-edged sword ray. Yi Emo gradually learned the sword Tao Chi and even forgot he was still learning it. The next moment, that deep sword mark on the ground turned into a true sword mark god art. At this moment, the immortal goddess suddenly felt a sword mark slice from the void at her forehead. In this desperation, her will brought out the sword will on the ground and smashed against the sword mark. The clear sound of swords clashing appeared. The sword mark turned into all sorts of sword beams, while the double-edged sword will turned into countless sword chi. The sword beams and sword chi clashed together, turning all the pebbles to nothing. The sturdy black ground was carved with sword marks. At this moment, Yi Emo and the immortal goddess didn't know this at all. They were immersed in this slaughter and didn't dare to let loose at all. It was as if they let loose for one moment, they would be killed. Yi Emo felt that he had too many sword marks, but it cooled and stopped the sword chi. Suddenly, the scene of him killed the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor appeared in his sea of consciousness. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was killed by the great primordial god rune. What if he fused the two great primordial god rune into his sword mark? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2045 Vindicate God AR." 2045 Vindicate God AR Yi Emo was immersed in this enlightenment of sword Tao. When he thought of the two great primordial god runes, he immediately started to fuse it. But no matter what Yi Emo did, the two great primordial god runes wouldn't fuse into the sword mark. Yi Emo derived his own god art, cultivation method, and even Tao. He immediately knew what was going on. The great primordial god rune god art and the sword mark god art he learned himself weren't on the same level. The level of the great primordial god rune was too high. His newly learned sword mark was good, but a far cry from the great primordial god rune. After giving up this idea, Yi Emo immediately felt his sword mark change. His newly learned sword mark god art didn't fuse into the great primordial god rune, but it was inspired by the great primordial god rune. It now had some ripple shape too. It wasn't big, but the ripple would sweep over the nearby lethal force with each pulse. Rumble. The rippled-shaped sword mark smashed on the sword chi. Her sword chi dispersed, and the powerful killing intent made her unable to keep learning. A blood light flashed across her chest. She was hacked away a few thousand km before barely being able to stand. She woke up from the enlightenment and stared at her bloody chest in shock. She even forgot to heal herself. She was just learning Sword Dao and knew the change in the sword mark very clearly, just like how Yemo knew her Sword Dao change clearly. Before, the two swords were equally matched, but later on, the single-edged sword mark suddenly changed and formed a ripple-shaped sword rune. That sword rune seemed to be able to distort space. It gathered the space-lethal force in an eerie way and smashed over. After that, her sword chi could no longer stop the sword mark and she was smashed out. She was heavily injured too. She knew that this had nothing much to do with cultivation level, but since Yi Mo could injure her, clearly he was no ordinary person. Just what was the sword rune that made it become so ferocious? Yi Mo didn't feel guilty injuring her at all. He was using her to learn God art, but so was she. Even if he was killed, she probably wouldn't feel guilty. Yi Mo deeply felt the power of this sword rune. At this moment, he closed his eyes and learned the sword rune God art. That last ripple rune was learned from the great primordial God rune. He would name it Falling Mark Sword Rune. Although he only had one rune for it now, the Falling Mark Sword Rune would be complete when runes fell like flower petals. Yi Mo opened his eyes and looked at the immortal goddess and saluted with his fists. "Sorry, I accidentally injured you there." The immortal goddess didn't care at all if Yi Mo was genuinely apologizing. She just stared at Yi Mo in shock. What was that sword rune God art? It definitely wasn't learnt here. Great primordial God rune was one of his lethal moves. Yi Mo wasn't going to tell people so easily. He said, "Underscore, sir, I has something I came up with on the spot. It's nothing. Nothing can hurt her?" Immortal goddess didn't care about Yi Mo's conflicting words. She suddenly said, "I can take you to the life crippling barren restriction, but one thing. If I see a Dao wave God art I need to learn on the way, you must attack and help me." She felt Yi Mo's powerful learning capabilities. The reason she was the saint of the immortal goddess sacred sect was because her learning capabilities were unparalleled. With her powerful learning capabilities, she still lost to Yi Mo. One could see that Yi Mo's learning capabilities were larger than hers. Not just that, after Yi Mo learned the sword mark, he fused what his own thing into it and hacked out that extremely terrifying sword rune. She had never seen such insane learning capability. If someone like this helped her learn, she would go much further. She would also be able to find her weaknesses easier. Yi Mo thought this was perfect. She needed someone to attack her, but so did he. Yi Mo nodded. "Of course, but I have a condition too. If I stop to learn God art, you must wait for me." "Okay." The immortal goddess agreed without hesitation. Even if Yi Mo didn't want her to wait, she would still wait. Such a good opponent was hard to find. After the two left, the sword mark and rune disappeared slowly. On the way, the two encountered many Dao waves and law God art. After learning it, they fought each other without hesitation. The both of them knew clearly that they were fighting for real. If the other was killed, then too bad. The two encountered all sorts of God arts, and even Buddhist great palm God arts. Their cultivation level grew rapidly. Due to fighting, the two were injured many times. Yi Mo didn't show mercy, and the immortal goddess was very fierce in her attacks. Luckily, Yi Mo had the chaos tree, so he would rapidly heal back. Seeing Yi Mo heal back so quickly every time, the immortal goddess knew Yi Mo had a great secret, but Yi Mo never asked about her secret. She never asked about Yi Mo's. The god Necropolis domain was boundless, and they didn't even have a direction to the life crippling barren restriction, but both of them weren't in a rush. They were learning God arts and practicing them. They would reveal their Dao wave laws from time to time to make learning and correcting their God art easier. At this time, both of them wouldn't use lethal blows. This never-before method of practicing allowed their cultivation level and God art to progress rapidly. Both of them felt their weaknesses from each other and wanted to learn more from each other. The immortal goddess came from a mortal goddess sacred sect and had been taught by powerful beings at a young age. Her cultivation method heritage came step by step, and the foundation was very big. Yi Mo understood a lot of things through fighting with her. Compared to Yi Mo, the immortal goddess learned even more. Yi Mo's cultivation and God art came from the understanding of the three-birth chant. The three-birth chant God art and Tao waves would be shown on Yi Mo's God art. This was pretty much opening another world to the immortal goddess. Black Lake. The immortal goddess stopped and looked at this pitch-black lake. She had been walking with Yi Mo in the god Necropolis domain for half a year. Yi Mo saw that this immortal goddess was always very calm and never spoke other than fighting. Even if she learned a god art, it would just be some slight joy. But today it was Yi Mo's first time seeing her, so shocked. What's the Black Lake? Yi Mo asked strangely. There was not a single drop of water in this lake. It was extremely black, and the banks of the lake were cracked open. It said that the Black Lake is transformed from two magic artifacts. Two primordial essence, divine emperors died here together. Two prenatal spirit artifacts that were just below, chaos artifacts, were locked here and turned to the Black Lake. Some say that it's not prenatal spirit artifact locked here, but postnal spirit artifact. Immortal Goddess said. Yi Mo was very shocked. He knew that chaos artifacts were like his chaos tree and golden page world. His bitter bamboo was only prenatal spirit artifact, but now there were two prenatal spirit artifacts trapped. Yi Mo didn't care about magic artifact, but prenatal spirit artifacts were different. He didn't even want to let it go if it was postnal spirit artifact. God artifacts were powerful, but it could be forged. He had never heard anyone forge postnatal spirit artifact. What treasure is it? Yi Mo asked Immortal Goddess. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. (2046) Black Lake. 2046 Black Lake, the immortal goddess, looked at Yi Mo plainly and said, "Don't tell me you want to take the two magic artifacts here? Do you know how many Tao Essence divine emperors have come here, but these two magic artifacts remained here? The only change is that the Black Lake shrunk by a third. Is this a legend too?" Yi Mo stared at the Black Lake and asked. If it was before, the immortal goddess wouldn't answer this. But now they were using each other. In this half year, her cultivation level had been rising straight up, so when Yi Mo asked, she nodded. "That's right, ancient legend." Yi Mo laughed. "Before, you told me that the legend said those who went in the god Necropolis domain never went out. If you come in god Necropolis domain, you can only stay in here forever. Since no one went out, where did the Black Lake legend come from?" She couldn't beat Yi Mo in a battle of words, or she wouldn't have lost to Yi Mo before in the Tao Mark shenanigan. She fell silent for a while and said, "It said that the Black Lake is formed by a three-treasure primordial essence, gourd, and 36 lightning sea god orbs. The 36 orbs locked the gourd and turned into the Black Lake." What? Yi Mo was very shocked. He didn't know other things, but he knew the lightning sea god orbs too well. He got 12 in the cultivation realm and gave it to his daughter. He then got 24 in the immortal realm, but these 24 were different. The first set of 12 was the same as the ones in the immortal realm, but the 12 he got in the Abyssal River Lightning Kill Palace was completely different. It had a vast and powerful chi with devastating lightning lethal force. At that moment, Yi Mo knew that the ones he got before were fake, but the ones he got from the palace were real. There were only 36 orbs. If he got 12 real ones, how could there be 36 orbs here? Yi Mo looked at the Black Lake again. It did look like a gourd indeed. The Black Lake had always been in the god Necropolis domain, but it's said to constantly change position. Not everyone who comes in is lucky enough to encounter it. There's also many god art and restriction, Tao, waves in the lake, so it's a fortune. Then the immortal goddess sat down next to the lake and started learning the Tao waves. Yi Emo didn't do this. He jumped into the bottom of the lake without hesitation. The Tao wave laws there were extremely powerful, but after fighting with the immortal goddess all this time, Yi Emo could face it. He jumped to the bottom, not for the Tao waves, but for the 36 orbs. When he got the 12 fake orbs, Yi Emo was so happy. If he got the 36 real ones, Yi Emo would be overjoyed. As soon as Yi Emo jumped in, he felt all sorts of Tao wave lethal force, as well as a whirlpool force suck him and drag him to the bottom of the lake. Yi Emo wanted to check the bottom of the lake, so he didn't resist this suction force. He just shielded his entire body. The immortal goddess saw Yi Emo really jumping in and was dazed. Moments later, she realized that Yi Emo was after the 2 spirit artifacts. She hesitated for a brief moment and jumped down too. On the way here, although she didn't say it, but she extremely admired Yi Emo. His learning capabilities were far stronger than her and dealt with things in much smarter ways. Since Yi Emo dared to jump in, it meant he had a way. If she followed him closely, she might be able to get a prenatal spirit artifact too. Who didn't like such treasure? It would increase her power by many times. But as soon as she jumped down, the immortal goddess noticed something wrong. She could block the law lethal force here, but there were whirlpools sweeping at her from the bottom of the lake. She couldn't resist at all and could only take out a powerful magic artifact to protect herself. This black lake didn't seem deep, but the suction force was endless. The 2 had been spinning for many hours, but still didn't reach the bottom. The immortal goddess began to regret. She had a few top defense magic artifact, but it wasn't some prenatal spirit artifact. It wasn't even extreme grade god artifact. Later on, the suction force grew very strong, and the bottom of the lake shot out lightning. These lightnings were extremely ferocious. Even with her defense magic artifact, empowered by her god essence, it was making cracking sounds. Crack! 2 bolts finally pierced her defense magic artifact and smashed on her body. A large part of her robes were torn, bringing out bloody mist. The immortal goddess was extremely shocked. She began to regret. During the half-year of fighting with Yi Emo, she felt that her cultivation level was no weaker than Yi Emo, maybe even a bit stronger, but now she almost couldn't hold on. Her spirit sense scanned Yi Emo. He wasn't far from her, but when she saw Yi Emo casually let the lightning hit him, she realized she was being overconfident. This immortal emperor-looking guy had too many means. He was probably a lightning element body refinement cultivator. To be able to block such lightning, his body refinement cultivation would be at least immortal god body peak. Thinking about this, the immortal goddess took in a cold breath. This person hid so much power. Splurge! Another bolt struck her, and her ribs sprayed bloody mist again. At this moment, she couldn't care about anything and waved out a 9-petal lotus stage. This stage emitted blue light that instantly wrapped around her. The lightning at the bottom grew denser and fiercer, but when striking the stage, it only created some blue beams. Yi Emo knew she was in trouble, but he didn't want to help. She clearly followed him for the spirit treasure. It was limited. If he saved her, he would lose some. Even if he were to save her, it would be when she had no power to spirit control the prenatal spirit treasure. Now that she released this lotus stand, Yi Emo immediately recognized that it was what she used when she fled. Its worth was no lower than a prenatal spirit treasure. Perhaps it was a prenatal spirit treasure. The immortal goddess sat in the stand and breathed slowly. She had never released the lotus stand in this half-year fighting Yi Emo, but now she exposed it. It was her secret, her greatest acquisition in the god necropolis domain. Its defenses were amazing, but it also had offensive and escape effects. She still hasn't completely spirit controlled it up until now. This definitely wasn't some ordinary thing. It was something no weaker than a prenatal spirit treasure. But now, she exposed her treasure before even getting the prenatal spirit treasure. She didn't know if Yi-Mo would greed after her magic artifact, but if Yi-Mo did, she would fight with her life for it. Yi-Mo didn't have the time to greed after it. He had too many good things. He was now busy refining his lightning sword. The Golden Page world was his, so his breakthrough didn't have any divine damnation. He lost the chance to refine Lightning Sword. Lightning Sword was his earliest magic art. It was far from a god art, but it gave birth to a few god art. The 5 lightning spear destruction and lightning sand all came from Lightning Sword. Yi-Mo just begun refining it, and then his foot hit solid ground. He was at the bottom of the lake, but that terrifying suction power wasn't gone. However, it just couldn't move him at all. The bottom was filled with murderous and chaotic Law Dao waves. With these striking Yi-Mo, even his body started to bleed. Yi-Mo's heart sunk. He couldn't barely even stay alive here, much less find the prenatal spirit treasure. His powerful spirit sense and body refinement can only protect him for now. No wonder there was no bones at the bottom. Even the toughest bones would disappear in a place like this. The immortal goddess's lotus stand landed at the bottom too. She scanned her spirit sense out immediately, but the terrifying chaotic law Qi instantly grinded her spirit sense into nothing. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. 2047 each. 2047 each. Yi-Mo's spirit sense couldn't be released outside, but he was in a much better state than the immortal goddess. At least, he didn't need to go in the Golden Page world. Yi-Mo knew that with the situation here, even if he wanted to spirit control a magic artifact, he would have to set up a formation first to block the chaotic Law Dao waves. At least part of it. Yi-Mo started to set up formation flags. The immortal goddess didn't know what Yi-Mo was doing. She could only hide in her lotus stand. She had a mean to escape, but that was just escape. She was very shocked that Yi-Mo could stand at the bottom of the lake without using any defense magic artifact. Yi-Mo threw out formation flags, and the nearby violent killing intent and lightning grew less. At this moment, the immortal goddess scanned with her spirit sense for the second time and immediately noticed what happened. She came out of the lotus stand. "You're actually a formation Grand Master." She could tell that Yi-Mo's formations were beyond ordinary immortal formations. She was truly shocked. She knew that Yi-Mo didn't understand a lot of things. To be honest, Yi-Mo probably got a very insane cultivation method and reached here purely by himself. Yet it was already extremely shocking for a person like Yi-Mo to reach immortal god body, but now he was a top formation grandmaster. This was unheard of. Any of these two things would cost a lifetime. Yi-Mo glanced at her and said nothing. He still continued his formation, set up. After the blocked some of the chaotic laws and lightning, the bottom of the lake cleared up slowly. 2 golden bone arrows were scattered at 2 corners. Yi-Mo almost exclaimed seeing these 2 golden bone arrows and immediately grabbed at one. The immortal goddess also saw this. Without thinking, she grabbed at one too. There were all sorts of chaotic Dao waves here and terrifying lightning. Under such cruel conditions, the 2 bone arrows were still perfect. Clearly, they weren't ordinary. They were probably from one divine emperor. When Yi-Mo grabbed one, the immortal goddess grabbed the other. "Give that bone arrow to me." Yi-Mo immediately knew it was the golden bone arrow he was looking for. The immortal goddess sneered. "Why should I give something I grabbed to you? Don't say that you set up the formations there. We said we were collaborating. If I didn't take you to the Black Lake, you wouldn't even be able to come here." Yi-Mo dazed. In his impression, the immortal goddess was no match for him in arguments. It had only been half a year. How did she become so good? Seeing Yi-Mo unable to rebut, the immortal goddess felt a little happy. Half a year ago, Yi-Mo almost gave her a sliver of Tao mark in her heart. She had been thinking about this problem. A month ago, she found the real answer. If she just said that Yi-Mo stayed there to take benefits from them. She didn't know Yi-Mo anything. However, she didn't think of this at the time. A month later, she thought of it, but she didn't want Yi-Mo to leave. After all, she learned a lot from Yi-Mo Plus. As soon as she grabbed this bone arrow, she knew its origin. How could she give it to Yi-Mo? Yi-Mo saluted with his fists. My name is Yi-Mo. I've come with you all this way, and we've learnt from each other. Thank you. What's your name? The immortal goddess's face was calm. She could tell that Yi-Mo really cared about the arrow. It was quite possible that the golden bow of divine extermination was in his hands. Just where did he get all these good things? Even if the golden bow of divine extermination was in Yi-Mo's hands, she didn't want to give the arrow to Yi-Mo so easily. The value of golden bow of divine extermination was too precious. Even if her sect got it, it would be a huge benefit. We're just using each other. You don't need to ask for my name. After we get to the life-crippling restriction ground, then we have nothing to do with each other. The immortal goddess said calmly, You know that if I take the formation flags away from here, you can only hide in your lotus stand. If you give me the bone arrow, I promise to take you up. Yi-Mo promised. The immortal goddess couldn't even be bothered answering. She took out a rune and said, You don't need to worry. I can go out at any time. But you should think about how to get out yourself. Yi-Mo's face was bad. She had this rune to escape, but he didn't. Even if he wasn't scared of these lightning, could he escape these whirlpools? Yi-Mo thought about what he could use to exchange for that bone arrow. Yi-Mo also started to study the bottom of this lake. Although it was pitch black, it was much smaller than the surface area of the top. Yi-Mo released Zisu and hacked at the dark bottom. Zisu didn't leave any marks on it. So tough, Yi-Mo was shocked. It said that the Black Lake is formed from the 3 treasure primordial essence gourd. If a mere half-god artifact can hack it open, it wouldn't be this famous. The immortal goddess saw Yi-Mo's naive actions and said, Yi-Mo ignored her. Since this was a magic artifact, he would find a way to spirit control the core. You can check here. I'm not going to stay. The immortal goddess said. She used her rune. The rune even loped her in yellow light, and the next moment, she flew out from the bottom of the lake. The immortal goddess was scared that Yi-Mo would suddenly take away the formation and trap her in the lotus stand. Although she could leave in the lotus stand, but she would need to use another defense rune. She didn't want to waste it. I don't believe I can't get to life-crippling restriction grounds without you, Yi-Mo said. He knew from what she said that she saw through the Tao mark he left her. But even so, Yi-Mo didn't care. There might be 2 prenatal spirit treasures here. Yi-Mo didn't want to give them up. After she left, Yi-Mo didn't follow. He had decided to spirit control these 2 treasures. To do that, he needed to find the entrance to the core of the magic artifact. It was very dangerous trying to spirit control the sealed magic artifact, as one might be devoured by the magic artifact too. Yi-Mo wasn't scared because he had the golden page world. He threw out a few more formation flags. Although he couldn't completely seal the Tao wave Kais, there weren't much chaotic law Kais anymore. Small ginseng check with your spirit sense. See if you can find the core of this gourd. We're probably at the opening to the gourd. Yi-Mo sound transmission to small ginseng. Small ginseng had an instinct to natural formations. Since this gourd was a prenatal spirit treasure, it was something natural too. Boss, we're not at the entrance to the Augurd, we're at the center. Small ginseng said. How do you know? Yi-Mo asked. Small ginseng immediately said, I have this natural instinct to natural spirit items. This gourd is definitely natural. So this means this gourd really is a prenatal spirit treasure? Yi Emo rejoiced. Small Ginseng quickly said, I don't know if it is a primary stage, but this gourd was reforged before becoming this. Yi Emo was very satisfied. He just needed to open the blockage in the middle and land at the entrance. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. (2048) Whose spirit controls faster. 2048 Whose spirit controls faster. A day later, Yumo's formation was broken by the chaotic Tao laws. He went around a few times at this place and didn't find any marks. He used all sorts of ways, whether it was smashing with the world rock or magic artifact or burning with fire. They were all ineffective. But Yi Emo didn't want to give up like this. He set up another defense formation and started searching again. A day passed again. Seeing that his defense formation was about to be broken again, Yi Emo sighed. No wonder these two prenatal spirit treasures stayed here for this long. Crack! The formation flag made a slight sound, and Yi Emo knew his formation was about to shatter. The formation flags corresponded to each other. If one formation flag completely broke, then the rest would be smashed by the chaotic Tao laws. Just when Yi Emo wanted to give up, that lotus stand came from down. Yi Emo immediately knew that the immortal goddess came back again. Yi Emo knew that she definitely came down for these two magic artifacts. She was scared that he would take it all for himself. He had made up his mind that he must get this bone arrow. He didn't like robbing other people's things, but the golden bone arrow was a set. He had to gather it all. This immortal goddess had far less experience than him. Perhaps he could trick it over. As soon as Lotus Stand came down, the immortal goddess came out. Yi Emo saw her change a set of clothes, but there was still blood seeping out of her clothes. Her state was wit here and chi very unstable. Yi Emo knew she was heavily injured. The same time he found she was injured, Yi Emo thought of something. Before, he wasn't confident in taking her out, but now he was. There's no point in killing me. A Tao actualization divine emperor has chased here. If we don't work together, you will die too. Yi Emo was furious. This woman led a powerful foe to him. Before Yi Emo could rage, she threw the golden bone arrow to Yi Emo. You can have this bone arrow, but you must fend off the enemy with me. I have an extremely powerful Tao bead. It can heavily injure him. You just need to attack when he's heavily injured. If you kill that Tao actualization divine emperor, I just want a blue bottle. The rest is yours. Yi Emo's anger finally appeased a bit. The golden bone arrow was the most important. He had 6 arrows now in total. He wondered if the arrows he got from the Lightning Kill Palace were from here. Thinking about this, Yi Emo suddenly had an idea. He got a dagger at the palace. In order to dig this gourd, he used everything but the dagger. He remembered that after Spirit controlling the dagger, it had a name called Melt Space. Thinking about this, Yi Emo took out the dagger and dug at the hard ground. Screech! Melt Space was like digging through tofu. Everywhere it went past, the materials melted and soon a black hole was formed. Yi Emo jumped in the hole. The immortal goddess saw this and woke up from her shock. She jumped in without hesitation. At this moment, Yi Emo's formation finale cracked apart. The chaotic chi filled this place again. That huge hole Yi Emo opened with Melt Space closed again. By the looks of it, it would close up to what it was before in just a few seconds. Before the hole could recover, another figure landed here. He had a pale face. The nearby chi struck his body like it was striking a powerful magic artifact. It couldn't hurt him at all. Even the lightning couldn't do any damage to him. Where did that immortal goddess, sacred sect girl go? She clearly ran here. Even if she was killed by the laws here, her lotus stand should still be here. Suddenly, he stopped talking as he saw the fist-sized hole. Seeing this, he dashed towards the hole without hesitation. He had heard of the Black Lake, of course, and knew what it was. He immediately guessed that the way to spirit control it was in the black hole. When Yemo and the immortal goddess came in, that pulling feeling from whirlpools were gone. There was no lightning, just a grayish space. Moments later, that man came in the hole too. Yemo and the immortal goddess both sensed it. They sped up running towards the entrance of the gourd. The man arrived later, but was faster than Yemo and the immortal goddess. He charged towards the entrance first. He couldn't care about them too. He wanted to charge to the entrance and spirit control this prenatal spirit treasure. Yemo was worried. He threw out a few pills to the immortal goddess and said, "Hurry up and heal. I need to speed up." Yemo had to help her. Even if he got to the gourd entrance alone, he would be no match for that man. The two had to work together to fight that man. Otherwise, he would have to leave. Yemo didn't want to give up the lightning orbs he was about to get. The immortal goddess didn't reject this at all. Yemo burned his god essence to speed up. 5 minutes later, Yemo and the immortal goddess landed at the entrance. They immediately saw the man sitting on the side. He was holding a rune with one hand. Clearly, he was starting to spirit control the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. Yemo was furious. He was the one who opened this place up. Just when he wanted to attack, he saw 24 lightning surrounded orbs at the border of the entrance. There was 36 spots, but only 24 remained. Yemo rejoiced. He charged up to spirit control these 24 lightning orbs immediately. He knew why the man didn't go for the lightning orbs first, as 12 was missing. Even if he spirit controlled it, it wouldn't be a complete magic artifact. Perhaps he also thought that when he spirit controlled this gourd, he could easily kill them. The immortal goddess had pretty much recovered now. Seeing the man's spirit control the gourd and Yemo's spirit control the lightning orbs, she actually had nothing to do. Just when she was thinking about if she should spirit control a few lightning orbs and exchange things from Yemo, Yemo suddenly sound transmission to her, "Hurry up and go out." If this guy's spirit controlled the gourd, none of us would get away. We're all inside the gourd. The middle of the gourd is sealed. How do I get out? The immortal goddess said. Yemo threw the dagger to her. "Hurry up and spirit control part of this dagger and then slice off the middle of the gourd. Don't stay here. I think that barrier at the middle is definitely very important. It must be a crucial part to the gourd. If you cut it away, even if this bastard spirit controls the gourd, he wouldn't be able to trap me." Hearing this, she knew time was of the essence. She immediately grabbed the dagger and went back while whining about why Yemo didn't do this himself. She didn't know how much the 24 lightning orbs were to Yemo. The man was immersed in spirit, controlling the gourd. There was Tao waves circulating around him and a defense formation disc there. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2049 Too Wicked." 2049 Too Wicked Yemo knew that if he was to spirit control all the lightning orbs, he definitely wouldn't be able to beat that man. But he had to spirit control one layer of restriction for each orb to remove it from the orb. Seeing this, Yemo set up a stealth formation and threw out the time formation disc and started to spirit control the orbs. As soon as the man started spirit controlling the gourd, he knew his plans had some error. He didn't attack the two immediately because he was certain that they couldn't escape. He knew it would take at least half a day to escape from the entrance. He definitely would have spirit controlled the first layer of restriction by then. With that, the gourd would be his. They were inside his gourd. How could they escape? There was 24 orbs here, but he definitely wouldn't spirit control them first, as the set was incomplete. If he chose the gourd, those two would definitely go after the 24 lightning orbs. No one can ignore such treasure. If they did so, they would waste more time in the gourd, which would benefit him even more. But soon, he realized he thought of things too simply. Each level of restriction was extremely hard to spirit control. He would need a long time even for just the first level. He knew that Yemo set up a stealth formation, but he couldn't care. He just wanted to finish the first layer quickly and take the gourd away. With the time formation disk set up, Yemo immediately sped up. When he pulled all 24 orbs from the gourd, it only took 4 hours. Yemo didn't even take the stealth formation flags and just left the gourd entrance. He knew that he would spirit control this gourd faster, but he didn't dare to do it. The man can't stop now, but if he tried to go spirit control the gourd too, the man might just come to kill him. The man immediately knew when Yemo left, but he couldn't stop now. His first level of restriction was almost done. By then he would be able to put he gourd away. If he did that, there was no way the two in here could get away. Yemo clearly knew what the man was planning. After taking the 24 orbs, he immediately charged up. When Yemo came to the middle of the gourd, he saw the immortal goddess desperately holding the dagger. When she saw Yemo come, she quickly said, "I've dug out the middle of the gourd, but I can't spirit control it, so I can't put it in the storage ring." "I'll do it." Yemo took the dagger and immediately started spirit controlling the barrier at the middle. Yemo just spirit controlled a bit, and there was a huge laughter. "Not good. He finished spirit controlling the gourd. We can't get away." The immortal goddess immediately released that rune wanting to run away. Yemo couldn't care anymore. He just took this blockage and sent it into his golden page world. Just because a storage ring couldn't store it didn't mean that his golden page world couldn't store it. Indeed, before the man finished laughing, the blockage was sent into the golden page world. How did you do it?" The immortal goddess looked dazedly at Yemo. Yemo sneered. "Hurry up and run. Do you want to wait for him to put away the gourd?" Then Yemo dashed towards the Black Lake. The two of them noticed that after Yemo took the blockage, the whirlpools and lightnings were gone. So were the chaotic laws. Seeing this, the immortal goddess immediately followed. "You still want to run when you're in my gourd." "Ha!" the man laughed. If someone was next to the Black Lake, he would notice that lake was gone. What remained was just a huge basin. The man was holding a gourd, standing at the basin laughing. "Ha ha!" Another wave of laughter sounded. The man dazed, and then he noticed that the one laughing was the immortal emperor Little Brat. He didn't think Yemo was an immortal emperor. Otherwise, how could he come here? He was dazed. Wasn't he in the gourd? How was he laughing outside? Yemo really wanted to laugh. He was laughing so much his stomach was hurting. He felt he was too smart. The blockage he cut from the gourd was definitely the bottom of the gourd. For some reason, the bottom of the gourd shrunk and fell to the middle. This was what caused the Black Lake. The Black Lake was a gourd, but one that could be entered from the bottom. When the man laughed, Yemo and the immortal goddess were indeed scared, but then they saw a sliver of light. The two dashed out from there without trouble. If a gourd didn't even have a bottom, how could it trap people? The man saw Yemo laugh so much and dazed for quite a while before raising the shrunken gourd and looked from the entrance. Then he saw that he could see through to the other side. He saw from the entrance of the gourd Yemo laughing and raising his middle finger. Although he spirit controlled one layer of restriction, the bottom of the gourd was gone. The man immediately realized what happened and his face went purple. "Do you see me? You're so old and you're using a gourd to be a telescope." Ha! Yemo felt he was too smart to have dug the bottom of the gourd out. Although he didn't know what telescope was nor why Yemo raised his middle finger. But the immortal goddess saw the man's face and then looked at Yemo. She couldn't resist laughing too. She had never laughed like this ever since entering the immortal goddess' sacred sect. But today this Yemo guy was too wicked. He dug out the bottom of the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. Is it very funny? The man's face recovered, and he stared at Yi Mo, asking coldly. Yi Mo raised Zisu and said, seriously, that's right, it's very funny. You're this old, probably tens of thousands or hundreds of thousand-year-old, but you still play with kaleidoscopes like a little kid. Can you not see me directly with your eyes? Do you have to look at me through a gourd without a bottom? Die. The man could no longer control his anger. His sun and moon 8 trigrams spear carried out a pale crescent strike at Yi Mo. At the same time, his Tao actualization divine emperor domain smashed out. The surrounding space-time seemed to have been bound by him. The immortal goddess immediately released her lotus stand and smashed 9 blue rays at the man. She knew that if something happened to Yi Mo, she would have to keep running. Yi Mo, who was seemingly bound, smiled. Zisu suddenly started to distort and broke free from this binding. The space distortion around Zisu grew bigger. Before the crescent landed above Yi Mo, countless purple beams were bomb out of nowhere. They rapidly formed a twisted sword wave and smashed out. Thud! The pale white crescent clashed with the purple twisted sword wave, and the crescent immediately exploded. Then a faint red sun that was about to form also crippled. Before the man could be shocked, he swept up countless spear shadows with his spear that formed a barrier around him. Crack! The barrier completely blocked the lotus stand's beams. The man didn't keep releasing his spear, but looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. What god art is this? It stopped my crescent moon? Give me that gourd telescope, and I'll tell you. Yi Mo smiled. This falling sword mark, was indeed powerful. He just learned it and only released one, but it stopped half the attack of a Tao actualization divine emperor. Seeing Yi Mo was this powerful, the immortal goddess felt assured and rejoiced that she fled to hear. The man's face sunk. He knew that neither of them were a match for him, but the two joined up, making it quite impossible for taking them out. Give me the bottom of that gourd, name a price. The man didn't keep fighting and chose to negotiate with Yi Mo. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. $20.50 scare off. $20.50 scare off. How could Yi Mo give the bottom of this man? If he did, this man would have the complete gourd. Same, I want your bottomless gourd, name a price. Seeing the man negotiate, he knew that the man couldn't take them out. The main thing was that the immortal goddess's lotus stand was too powerful. The man sneered and said to the immortal goddess, Jishi, I'll give you the blue bottle. You can go. You're a powerful person from the immortal goddess, sacred sect. I won't do anything to you. Why stay with this wild brat? If you keep doing this, I'll report all your tracks to the immortal goddess, sacred sect, I think. So the immortal goddess was called Jishi. Yi Mo immediately knew his predicament. If Jishi agreed to this, he would be in extreme danger. Jishi dazed. She completely didn't expect that the man was willing to give her the blue bottle just so she wouldn't attack. She then immediately knew that he was using the blue bottle to trade for everything Yi Mo had. This was a huge profit, and she knew that the man also planned to keep hunting her after he killed Yi Mo and then take the blue bottle back. She sneered. When the blue bottle was in her hands, he dared to think about getting it back. He was dreaming. As for reporting to her sect, she didn't care at all. The man was certain that she would agree to his condition. He knew that she had a lot of secrets, and he might not be able to get back the blue bottle, but he wasn't worried. He just needed to take out Yi Mo. Yi Mo had much greater secrets on him. Yi Mo took the 24 lightning orbs before he could spirit control the first layer of restriction. Clearly, Yi Mo had some time manipulation magic artifact or even time formation disk. Otherwise, There was no way Yi Emo would finish before him. Both of them stared at Ji Shi. Yi Emo didn't explain the man's intentions. He knew that Ji Shi would be able to think of it. Yi Emo was thinking that if Ji Shi agreed, he would run immediately. The man was thinking that as soon as Ji Shi agreed, he would seal this place. Ji Shi hesitated. She really wanted to get the blue bottle so easily, and she wouldn't feel guilty at all. After all, she gave Yi Emo a golden bow and arrow, but Yi Emo didn't help her at all. She didn't get a share of the gourd nor the lightning orbs. Although she discussed with Yi Emo to use a Tao bead to heavily injure the man, but whether they would be able to keep him was another matter. Plus, the bead was too precious to her. She only had one. Yi Mo's heart sunk. He was ready to release instant second. In that second, he would be able to instant transmission away. Pale face, people really do meet everywhere. Another dashing light came. It was a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. The man looked younger than him. His red hair was braided, but his eyes were icy blue. There was a sliver of arrogance and wildness on his face, but his hands were long and white. Kong Qingtian, I didn't go find you, but you dare to come to me. I don't have time to waste with you today. Move away, the pale-faced man said. If it was another time, how could he take this Kong Qingtian seriously? But at this crucial moment when she was about to agree, he suddenly popped up. Are you two fighting this pale face? Count me in. We can gain up and beat the shit out of him, Kong Qingtian said. She sighed. She knew she had no chance. Regardless if she agreed or not, there was no point in staying here. Even if she agreed, the pale-faced man wouldn't agree. Now that another Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor came. Even if she didn't join, Yi Mo and that guy wouldn't fear the man. Seeing Kong Qingtian release his magic artifact, the man saluted with his fists ace-changed. He disappeared into a dashing light without hesitation. If it was 3 ordinary Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors, he wouldn't care, but he knew that Kong Qingtian and She were peerless. This strange immortal emperor wasn't easy to mess with too, so he might as well flee. Ha ha ha! Pale face, you finally fled in front of your granddad, Kong Qingtian laughed. Yi Mo had a golden immortal of this Kong Qingtian, not because he saved him, but he seemed to be like Ding Jia. She hesitated before, and now she didn't have the face to keep staying with Yi Mo. She said nothing and turned to leave. Isn't she your woman? Why did she leave? Kong Qingtian asked in confusion. She didn't go far, and hearing this, she almost tripped and wanted to come back and fight Kong Qingtian. Luckily, she had some reason and knew she was no match for Kong Qingtian. Haha, I would never want such woman. Thank you for helping Brother Kong. The white face was scared off. Yi Mo saluted with his fists. That's true. Pretty women are usually bad. That's what my dad told me. Kong Qingtian laughed and then saluted with his fists. My name was said by that pale face. What's your name? I respect you for daring to stand off with him. I'm Yi Mo. This white face came looking for my trouble for no reason. One day I'm going to take him out, Yi Mo said without hesitation. The reason he was going after that man was because he wanted the gourd. Plus, he knew that even if he didn't go after the man, he would come for him. Okay, I want to kill him too, but I can't beat him yet. We used the woman's threat a bit too, but that woman just walks off. Kong Qingtian was annoyed that she just left. But then he immediately patted Yi Mo's shoulder. Not bad, you're only an immortal emperor, but you dare to appear in the god Necropolis domain. It seems your power isn't ordinary. Yi Mo didn't mind Kong Qingtian patting his shoulder. He seemed to be this straightforward person. It was impossible for him to leave any marks on his body. Yi Mo wanted to admit he was Tao Molding Divine Emperor, but then he thought that if he admitted that he couldn't sense the life-crippling restriction grounds, then Kong Qingtian might be able to guess he vindicated Tao in the 5-element world. Thinking about this, Yi Mo laughed, _ I have some luck, but I don't fear ordinary Tao Molding Emperors. Great, I respect people like you. I'm going to the life-crippling restriction grounds. Are you going? If so, let's go together. Don't worry, I'll protect you since that woman is gone. Kong Qingtian said generously, I want to go. I went with her before for her to bring me there. Now that she's gone, if Brother Kong can take me there, I would be very grateful. Yi Emo thanked. Kong Qingtian waved his hand. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Yi Emo thought that he was indeed a Tao-molding divine emperor now, but he could only at most survive in the god Necropolis domain. He had 6 golden bone arrows and 36 lightning orbs. If he didn't turn that into his means, he would be an idiot. Thinking about this, Yi Emo saluted with his fists. Brother Kong, I have some private matters to deal with. It would probably take a few years, so please go first. I'll go after I'm done dealing with my own things. Kong Qingtian said generously, no problem. I'll leave some spirit sense marks on the way. Have this jade card. You can use it to find my spirit sense mark. Yi Emo rejoiced, and quickly, thank you, Brother Kong. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. I have one more thing to ask Brother Kong. Do you know if one can leave this place in the end? Do you have to reach Primordial Essence, Divine Emperor, before you can go out? Yi Emo asked. I have one more thing to ask Brother Kong. Do you know if one can leave this place in the end? Do you have to reach Primordial Essence, Divine Emperor, before you can go out? Yi Emo asked. Kong Qingtian said affirmatively. You can definitely go out, but the place you get out to is not necessarily the broken Divine Tao realm. You might appear in other realms. As for Tao Essence, Divine Emperor, there might not be one in every 100,000 Divine Emperors. Plus, how can there be that many Divine Emperors in the world? Of course, if you truly reach Tao, Vindication Divine Emperor, you might be able to easily tear the space here and leave. Yi Emo rejoiced and asked, May I ask Brother Kong where the way out is? Kong Qingtian shook his head. I only know the way out is at the life-crippling restriction grounds. I've only been at the god Necropolis domain for no more than a few hundred years. Now that I reached Tao, Nourishment Divine Emperor, I want to go life-crippling restriction grounds and see. There are many old monsters who have stayed here for countless years. Perhaps if you ask them, you might know. Thank you, Brother Kong. Let's meet again at the life-crippling restriction grounds. Yi Emo said. It had been 1 month since Yi Emo separated from Kong Qingtian. In the Golden Page world, Yi Emo spirit controlled the 2 golden bones to the 99th restriction. The golden light was getting dimmer, but the terrifying murderous chi in the arrow was getting heavier. Yi Emo couldn't go any further over 99th level of restriction. Then Yi Emo continued to spirit control the bow and the other arrows to the 99th restriction. Despite this, the bow and arrow was still called Golden Bow of Immortal Extermination. After he had done all that, the time formation disc had ran for 4 months. Feeling the bow and arrow increase in power by tens of folds, Yi Emo was very satisfied. Before that, Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor could grab his bow and arrow, but now, probably even that pale-faced man couldn't grab it. Suppressing the desire to test it, Yi Emo took out the 36 lightning orbs. He had 48 right now, 12 were fake. Yi Emo knew these orbs had restriction, but they were completely different to the ones Golden Bow of Divine Extermination had. There was 108 restriction, and Yi Emo spent nearly half a year and could only reach 99th level. It seemed there was something of equal caliber to the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination, Yi Emo guessed. There was powerful lightning source killing intent and lightning law in the orbs. Yi Emo immediately realized the power of these 36 orbs. I finally have some self-protection means. Yi-Mo put these 36 orbs into his sea of consciousness and breathed. He had spent about a year in the Golden Page world. After Yi-Mo left the Golden Page world, he immediately took out Kong Qingtian's jade card. As soon as he took it, he sensed the spirit sense marks Kong Qingtian made. Not bad. Yi-Mo felt Kong Qingtian was a really nice person. Since Yi-Mo walked the path that Kong Qingtian walked, there wasn't anything good left, as Kong Qingtian would have taken them. But Yi-Mo didn't care, that way he would go faster. As Yi-Mo traveled, he vindicated his god art. The god, Necropolis domain space, was very tough. Even if his god art can annihilate a star, it wouldn't cause much disturbance in the god Necropolis domain. For months later, Yi-Mo's 36 lightning orbs could form a formation. Accompanied with his Tao molding divine emperor domain, he could completely bind a Tao nourishment divine emperor. Plus, the lightning orbs could attack Sea of Consciousness with lightning. Yi-Mo could barely release 2 falling mark sword runes. If he shot all 6 golden bow of divine extermination arrows, he could instant kill Tao molding divine emperor, but that would be too taxing on his essence chi and spirit sense. The only pity Yi-Mo had was that his great primordial god rune didn't improve much. As for the world rock and how heaven drum, they were rarely used. The how heaven drum was high level, but Yi-Mo didn't like drum sound god arts and rarely studied it. As for the world rock, it was powerful, but Yi-Mo got too little. The world rock could be powerful in the immortal realm, but in the god Necropolis domain, it didn't seem very useful. Yi-Mo really liked this world rock magic artifact. If it wasn't so small, he would often use it. He even thought if he spirit controlled the entire world mountain, it would be a huge lethal weapon. It was no weaker than a prenatal spirit treasure. However, he didn't have the power. Even now, he might not have the power to spirit control it. Yi-Mo was still deriving his falling mark sword rune, but he was captivated by this 10 kilometers tall pale light. Yi-Mo immediately knew that there were 2 masters who were at least Tao nourishment divine emperor fighting. Another pale crescent flew with a faint red mark. Yi-Mo immediately recognized that one of them was the pale-faced man. To be able to fight him, the other person must be at least Tao actualization divine emperor. If it was some other Tao actualization divine emperor fighting, Yi-Mo would move as far away as possible, but that pale-faced man was someone he wanted to kill the most in here. He immediately flew over without hesitation. The 2 were going as they were fighting. Yi-Mo had to follow to keep up. In order to prevent the man from knowing he was following, Yi-Mo had to stealth his figure. This chase went on for a few days. When he was getting closer and closer, Yi-Mo finally saw who the pale-faced man was fighting. It was an ordinary-looking middle-aged woman. However, she was definitely Tao actualization divine emperor, and her dual silver swords shot out pale lights too that entwined with the pale-faced man's spear. Rumble. The swords and the spear clashed. The silver-white veil receded, and the woman flew out, spitting blood in the air. The pale-faced man didn't have it easy too. Although his spear hit the woman's chest, he was also shot by the silver-white light. However, his injuries were much lighter than the woman's. The 2 fought for many days, and now they were both injured. Yi-Mo knew this was the best time to ambush. But then he saw the pale-faced man land in a valley, and there were 8 people there. Yi-Mo hesitated and released falling mark sword rune. It was best to use golden bow of divine extermination to ambush, but there were too many people here. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. (2052) Wu Ding Valley. 2052 Wu Ding Valley. Although the pale-faced man was already a Tao actualization divine emperor, his power was greatly weakened after fighting that woman for a few days and getting injured. When he saw there were quite some people in the valley, he focused his attention, being wary of them. He didn't expect the ambush to come from behind his back. When two twisted sword runes were about to tear him apart, he suddenly realized he couldn't even smash out the moon spear and released it. At the same time, he burned his essence chi while lighting up his armor. Rumble. The falling mark sword rune Yimo had been preparing for a long time fell on the spears. The Tao waves on the sword rune spun and completely tore apart the wave brought about by the spear. The spear couldn't handle such attack, and the spear veil that had been formed was instantly broken. Splurge! The twisted sword rune easily broke that vibrant armor, bringing out a spray of blood. The man's face went pale. Seeing how he was about to be sliced in half, a huge essence, chi hand, pulled him away. Yi Mo didn't keep attacking. The hand that grabbed the man came from a Tao actualization divine emperor, and he knew that even if the pale-faced man wasn't pulled, Yi Mo wouldn't be able to kill him. Yi Mo planned that if his ambush landed, the pale-faced man would be torn open. However, Yi Mo didn't expect that the pale-faced man had such a top-grade armor. He was also a body refinement cultivator too. If the strike wasn't lethal, someone like the pale-faced man could definitely run away. Yi Mo's ambush finished in an instant, and now almost everyone stared at Yi Mo. Mo seemed to be only a mortal emperor, but he dared to ambush a Tao actualization divine emperor. This made everyone realize Yi Mo was no immortal emperor. The pale-faced man was injured, very heavily. The core of his body had been injured. "Thank you, Brother Yunli. Please protect me," the pale-faced man said as he quickly ate pills. "Thank you for helping Divine Brother. I'm Gan Shintong," the middle-aged woman said. Yi Mo saluted with his fists. "I'm Yi Mo. This little pale-faced bitch took my things. I came here to settle things with him." Yi Mo saw that there were two Tao actualization divine emperors in the valley. The rest of them were below Tao actualization divine emperor. Yi Mo breathed easy, seeing that there were no Tao essence divine emperor. At the same time, he saw she was here, but she didn't come out and talk with him. With so many people staying here, this valley definitely wasn't ordinary. Thus, Yi Mo didn't leave. There were two Tao actualization divine emperors here before, the brother Yunli and an old man. Now there were four Tao actualization divine emperors. However, Gan Shintong was injured, and the pale-faced man was heavily injured. Most people looked at the old man, while a few looked at Yi Mo and Gan Shintong. Yi Mo dared to ambush a Tao actualization divine emperor and succeeded. Gan Shintong was with Yi Mo. Their power was not to be underestimated. Everyone was guessing if Yi Mo was Tao actualization divine emperor. Mu Han divine emperor. There's more than 10 people here. Speak up. A chubby Tao nourishment divine emperor said. The old man nodded and saluted with his fists to Yi Mo and Gan Shintong. "My title is called Mu Han. You two just came here, but probably don't know why we're staying here." Mu Han divine emperor said as he studied Yi Mo. He couldn't see through Yi Mo's cultivation level. That's why he was concerned with Yi Mo. He still felt a little shocked about the two sword runes Yi Mo ambushed the pale-faced man with. "May I ask Brother Mu Han why everyone is staying here?" Gan Shintong asked. Mu Han divine emperor said, "Have you heard of God Necropolis Domain Wooding Valley?" Yi Mo never heard about it, but Gan Shintong said in shock, "Is this place Wooding Valley?" Mu Han divine emperor nodded. "That's right, we're certain it is, but the formation outside is too high level. We've been searching for many days, but still didn't find an entrance." Gan Shintong said with disappointment, "Wooding Old Man is unparalleled in formation. It seems no one can break the entrance formation." Mu Han divine emperor said with awkwardness, "That's right. Although we have a lot of people here, there are no top-level formation grandmasters. My formation skills are higher, but I can only barely set up level 8 immortal formation. Gee, she stared at Emo. She knew that Emo's formation skills were definitely higher than everyone here. Emo's spirit sense searched this valley. He didn't know who Wooden Old Man was, but since so many people were looking for this place, it wasn't simple. My formation skills are simple. What is your opinion, Brother Muhan? Gan Shintong said, I think we should attack the valley in batches. We would eventually find an entrance. Muhan, Divine Emperor, said. Gan Shintong subconsciously said, that way there's only 10% chance of finding the entrance. There would be 90% chance that the space here would be completely sealed and never to be opened. Muhan, Divine Emperor, was helpless. In fact, we've already discussed this. There's nothing else we can do. Emo suddenly asked, Marshal Sister Gon, may I ask the story of the Wooding Valley? Hearing this, everyone except she looked at Emo with shock. They were too speechless that Emo didn't even know about such place. Gan Shintong looked at Emo in confusion. Brother you really don't know about Wooding Valley? Emo said awkwardly, I've been cultivating with Master in the cultivation home. I've only come out for a few years. So that's it. Gan Shintong said, and then explained Wooden Old Man is a legend in the Divine Tao realm. He's very powerful, but his formation skills are even greater. I'm not sure if he's a primordial essence Divine Emperor, but everyone knows he lives at this region of the God Necropolis domain, and his home is called the Wooding Valley. Then there was a big battle in the Divine Tao realm. This area was affected too. Some primordial essence, Divine Emperor, fought their way here. Wooden Old Man didn't want to be involved in the battle, and thus set up formation, completely sealing the space around his valley. Emo realized there was definitely large sums of treasures in Wooden Old Man's home and maybe even his heritage. Marshal Sister Gon, you're saying Wooden Old Man is still in this valley? Emo thought that if Wooden Old Man was on par with primordial essence Divine Emperor, his life would be unlimited. Muhan, Divine Emperor, said after he sealed the valley, he wasn't able to hide inside and was caught by the battle. His best friend asked him for help and in the end brought over a huge enemy. Wooden Old Man died in that battle. Emo's spirit sense scanned this valley but didn't find any clues. However, he believed that at the very least he could find the formation door. Just when Emo was thinking about asking for benefits, he saw the pale-faced man get up. Emo suddenly thought of something and smiled. He had decided to start with this guy first. The man was very cunning, and seeing Emo's evil smile, he immediately knew what Emo wanted. He still remembered Emo's formation in the Black Lake. Clearly, Emo was a top-level formation grandmaster. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2050, 3 generous, Emo. 2050, 3 generous, Emo, Brother Yunli. Thank you for your protection." The pale-faced man said to the Divine Emperor. Yunli smiled. It's no big deal. Don't be so polite. Yunli Divine Emperor knew that he did an easy favor. Even if he didn't help, the pale-faced man could easily get away. The man took out an exquisite gourd and gave it to Yunli. I know you like collecting magic artifact fragments. I have a gourd here, but the bottom is gone. Please have it. Yunli Divine Emperor frowned. He liked magic artifact fragments, but if you're giving gifts, you can't give a fragment. However, this gourd was quite exquisite. He took the gourd without showing any annoyance. Then, thank you, Brother Jen. Before he finished, Yunli Divine Emperor's face changed and grabbed the gourd tightly. What gourd is this? The pale-faced man regretted giving the gourd out. If he knew this would happen, He wouldn't stay here to recover. He was certain that Yi Mo wouldn't be able to catch up to him. But if he wanted to go now, Yi Mo would ask the Tao Actualization Divine Emperors to catch up to him and kill him. He was this heavily injured, he didn't feel confident escaping a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor at all. This pale-faced man, this gourd is the Black Lake. You're saying the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd? Almost everyone stared at the gourd with beams coming out of their eyes. This was a prenatal spirit treasure. There were that many divine emperors, but no one was said to have a prenatal spirit treasure. Immediately, people thought of another thing, the 36 lightning orbs. These 2 magic artifacts were spirit-controlled. Everyone all gazed at the pale-faced man. Yi Mo cursed. He didn't expect this man to be this shameless. He did intend to tell Muhan Divine Emperor that he can find the entrance, and the condition was to get the gourd off the pale-faced man. But Yi Mo didn't bring this up as he knew it would backfire. However, this pale-faced man immediately saw this and took the thing out. Next, the man would definitely say the lightning orbs were on him. That way, those greedy looks would come to him. These old things were all extremely cunning. This is the 3-treasure primordial essence gourd. However, the bottom is dug out. I believe since this person can dig out the bottom, he must have something on par with it. When I was spirit controlling the gourd at the entrance, Yi Mo interrupted. There were 12 lightning orbs, right? There's clearly 24. As soon as the pale-faced man said this, he knew he was tricked by Yi Mo. He wanted to say 36, and Yi Mo took all 36, but he spilled the truth because of Yi Mo's tricks. The value of 36 orbs and 24 orbs were definitely different. 24 was at most a powerful magic artifact, but its power would be much lower than 36. The Black Lake is really spirit-controlled. Someone immediately stared at the pale-faced man desperately. Even Muhan Divine Emperor looked at the man with fervor. Yi Mo didn't run immediately. He knew that even if he did, the news would spill, and if he fled, everything would be pushed onto him. That's right, this is the person whose spirit controlled the Black Lake. The man pointed at Yi Mo. He not only took the bottle of the gourd and also took 24 lightning orbs. Do you know why he ambushed me now? It's because he has the bottom of the gourd, but not the gourd itself. Everyone looked at Yi Mo. Yi Mo got out and saluted with his fists. How long has the Black Lake been at the god Necropolis domain? Why has the gourd and bead not been taken? Let me tell everyone. I was traveling at the god Necropolis domain, and then, as I was getting close to it, there was a huge explosion. There was 12 consecutive sounds. I immediately came to the Black Lake, but found the Tao wave Qi in there weaken. I was greedy, so I jumped in the lake without hesitation. The pale-faced man didn't know how Yi Mo entered the lake, so he couldn't argue about this. Only she knew Yi Mo was lying, but she didn't expose Yi Mo seeing this. Yi Mo knew that everyone believed him, so he said, I heard there was lightning and Tao wave law in the Black Lake. However, when I went in, there was no violent Qi, and there was a huge hole at the bottom of the lake. The hole was getting bigger, so I went in the hole. Then Yi Mo pointed at this man. This guy probably saw me jump in, so he followed me. However, he was actually faster than me. When I got to the entrance of the gourd, he already started spirit controlling the gourd. I could only spirit control the 24 lightning orbs. However, it wasn't a complete set. Although I spirit controlled the 24 orbs, its power is average. A divine emperor is full of lies. The pale-faced man looked at Yi Mo with scorn. I did go down first, but the hole wasn't getting bigger, but smaller. Plus, were you alone? Yi Mo said all that just to bait the man to say this. Yi Mo said calmly, there's enmity between us. You can add whatever you want. Even if you say I have a partner here, it's up to you. The pale-faced man laughed. Your partner is indeed here. She joined up with you to attack me. Do you not dare to admit? You're saying I was staying with she? Yi Mo looked at the man with surprise. The pale-faced man immediately realized that Yemo was setting up traps. If he said Yemo was with someone else, people would believe it, but she was from a mortal goddess, sacred sect. Seeing the man's face change, Yemo said seriously, little white face, you can rob things, but you can't say the wrong things. You robbed my gourd, but there's no bottom, so I don't care. But you're saying I was with the immortal goddess. If this gets to the divine sect, I won't be the only one involved. She isn't not only an immortal goddess. She's the saint of the immortal goddess, sacred sect. Gan Shintong sneered, helping Yemo. With this, people started to doubt the pale-faced man. There was no way the saint of immortal goddess, sacred sect would mix with Yemo. She's face was cold. Yemo felt very good. He knew she wouldn't admit she was with him. Seeing the man about to talk again, Yemo suddenly took out 12 bluish-gray orbs and said, I got 24 lightning orbs, but I know to share good things just like this Wooding Valley, since everyone was willing to share with me. So I'll take out 12 orbs to share with everyone. The pale-faced man didn't expect Yemo was this generous. He was willing to give out half of what he got. Many people thought Yemo was scared and wanted to share a portion to calm everyone's jealousy. You only got 24 lightning orbs, did 12 explode, and that's why the gourd's bottom was blasted away. One Tao-molding divine emperor said. Hearing this, everyone immediately connected this to the 12 explosions. There really might be 12 lightning orbs exploding and blasting the bottom of the gourd. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. (2054) Wooding Entrance. 2054 Wooding Entrance. There was 24 orbs in total, and Yemo took out 12 in one go. Yemo's spirit controlled the orbs, and it had nothing to do with everyone here. Yemo did things to the extreme. Although most people believed Yemo's words, Yemo still felt a subtle, cold spirit sense skin over him. No matter how subtle it was, Yemo still felt it. However, Yemo acted like he felt nothing and didn't scan his spirit sense back. Since Tao Friend Yi is willing to share the lightning orbs, I think we should keep it on Tao Friend Yi first. After we break the seal, we'll see who contributed the most. If everyone has one, the lightning orbs would lose instant second original value. Mu Han Divine Emperor got up and said without disappointment. He believed Yemo that the 24 orbs' power was ordinary. Otherwise, Yemo wouldn't take out 12. The gourd was good, but it didn't have a bottom. That was no good. Yunli Divine Emperor calmed down now. He looked at the gourd and sighed. This gourd was useless. It was a pity to throw it away, but it was not much use and caused people to be jealous. I don't have much need for this. Before Yunli Divine Emperor finished, she walked up and saluted with her fists. Yunli Qianbei. Wanbei is interested in this gourd. Wanbei is willing to trade it with a purple Yin God well bead. If Qianbei isn't willing, then never mind. When she was heavily injured and fell into the huge fist hole, she fell into a purple well. After she recovered, she found out that the well was purple Yin God well. After she devoured it, she found a bead there. You have purple Yin God bead? Of course I'm willing. Yunli Divine Emperor gave the gourd to she without hesitation. The bead was more useful than the well. It can empower God art, rebuild the 6 meridians. Yunli Divine Emperor even suspected that she didn't know the main use of the bead, and that's why she was willing to trade it with him. Yemo didn't dare to ask for the gourd. If he did, then people would really suspect it was on him. Seeing she get the gourd, he immediately said, Everyone, I have a way to find the entrance. People's attention was immediately caught by Yi-Mo. Yi-Mo said, "I'm a top-level immortal formation grandmaster. With time I can definitely find the entrance. Even if I can't break it, I can find a way to open it. I only have one condition. I have a blue bottle." Before Yi-Mo finished, the pale-faced man immediately turned into a dashing white light and disappeared. He knew what Yi-Mo wanted. The blue bottle wasn't Yi-Mo's. Yi-Mo clearly wanted it to exchange the gourd with Ji-Shi. Seeing the pale-faced man flee before Yi-Mo finished, Yi-Mo couldn't do anything. Yi-Mo could only say, "The reason I ambushed him is because a blue bottle of mine was robbed by this guy. I wanted everyone to help, but this little bastard got away too quickly." Muhan Divine Emperor showed a sliver of guilt on his face. "I didn't take not, but Dao friend, you don't worry. The next time we see this person, I will definitely help without hesitation." The other divine emperors expressed that they were willing to help Yi-Mo next time. Yi-Mo smiled and saluted with his fists. However, he knew this was all bullshit. When the valley was open and everyone shared the wealth, it would be strange if anyone remembered helping him. He didn't ask for more after the formation entrance was found because he knew it was full of shit. When everyone saw good things, no one would leave anything for him. She was disappointed. She knew that Yi-Mo was experienced in formation and might be able to find the entrance. That's why she traded for the gourd, so she could remind Yi-Mo to get the blue bottle. However, the man reacted too fast and fled. Yi-Mo started to search for the entrance. Everyone waited at the valley. Some people didn't believe Yi-Mo was a top immortal formation grandmaster, but they had no choice. As Yi-Mo threw down formation flags, he caught some formation waves. When Yi-Mo saw the ripple formation flags, he was dazed. He felt this was extremely familiar. He saw new formation means again. It was formation set up using formation rune Dao waves. He had never thought of this before. This wasn't why he was shocked. The reason he was shocked was because he saw the shadow of great primordial god rune in these formation runes. Yi-Mo immediately realized great primordial god rune was left by wooden old man. Yi-Mo suddenly regretted. He suddenly didn't want to keep breaking the formation. He would come back here himself later. How much fortune would be in the valley if the owner could use a terrifying god art like the great primordial god rune. As soon as Yi-Mo paused, Muhan Divine Emperor said, "Dao friend Yi is capable indeed. We searched for a few days and couldn't feel the formation at all, but Yi-Mo just used half a day and we felt it. It seems there is a chance to open the valley." Hearing this, Yi-Mo knew that this cunning fox saw through his hesitation. If he didn't continue, there would be fighting. A day later, the formation waves were getting clearer and clearer. Even those who didn't understand formation well knew that it would only be a matter of time before Yi-Mo found the entrance to the seal. Another day later, Yi-Mo stopped setting up formation flags. An extremely faint formation whirlpool appeared before everyone. Yi-Mo's face was calm, but his heart wasn't. He knew that this formation whirlpool was formed by many formation runes. It wasn't a real whirlpool. If one didn't understand great primordial god rune, it was impossible to break open here. He also felt confused. It didn't seem very hard for him to learn the two great primordial god rune. Why was it left there for countless years and no one could learn it? Now that the formation whirlpool appeared, people knew that if they attacked this, the entrance would soon show. Haha, Dao friend Yi is indeed amazing. Your formation skills are at such level. If it wasn't for you, we would definitely not find this entrance. Let us attack the entrance together. Dao friend ye can rest of. Of course, don't take out those 12 lightning orbs. It's what you deserve. Muhan Divine Emperor laughed and was the first to come to the formation entrance. If he didn't have to put in more effort, of course Yi-Mo wouldn't. Yi-Mo was speechless. He couldn't give away the 12 orbs. They were fake. If someone wanted them, he would give it without hesitation. Yi Emo watched as the 9 divine emperors attacked. He knew none of the divine emperors would use their real power. They wouldn't even take out their real magic artifact. All sorts of light smashed at the seal. Ripples sprung, and even the space was making cracking sounds. Those ripples that were damaged would soon recover. However, with so many people attacking, it soon slowed down. The entrance seemed about to fall under the constant attack of 9 divine emperors. One day and night passed, that whirlpool finally made a crack. Then there was a more terrifying roar. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. "2055 Battle, Tao, Nourishment, Divine, Emperor again. 2055 Battle, Tao, Nourishment, Divine, Emperor again," with this roar, an extremely fast shadow dashed out from the whirlpool. Its powerful force forced back the divine emperors. The Tao molding divine emperor at the front was suppressed by this force and couldn't move at all. Thud! This divine emperor cracked open like a ball. Not even his essence spirit was able to escape. Seeing this, everyone's head was tingling. What god beast was this? It was this Teifine killing a Tao molding emperor with just 1 ram. Yi Emo was also shocked. He had released Zi Su already. Swoosh! The figure didn't battle with the rest of the divine emperor and rapidly disappeared from the entrance. After a long while, people stared at that figure and asked, what was that? God beast? It's a god beast on par with Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Luckily, it didn't do anything to us. Mu Han Divine Emperor said. Then the rest of the people realized the valley was open and all charged in. Yi Emo was the last. He looked at the direction the shadow disappeared to but calmed down. The most terrifying thing about it was its speed. Seeing everyone go in the valley, Yi Emo charged in without hesitation. Before going in, if you scanned your spirit sense in from outside, it would be pitch black. But after coming in, Yi Emo found it was brighter than the outside. There was a round orb shooting out light that seemed like sunlight. Yi Emo knew this was some formation. What appeared before him was a valley that wasn't spacious. There was not any grass on the sides. It was probably all eaten by the god beast that escaped. The chi here was much calmer than outside, and there were no space fissures. Yi Emo entered the valley rapidly, and in just 5 minutes he saw 3 separate tunnels. Yi Emo chose the left one and sped up. Wooden old man quite possibly was the person who left the great primordial god rune. Yi Emo cared about it a lot. If he occulted get the heritage, his great primordial god rune would be even stronger. Yi Emo didn't go very long and felt he was followed. Yi Emo wasn't worried. The strongest here was only a Tao actualization divine emperor. Even if one was following him, he could get away. As soon as Yi Emo stopped, a purple figure appeared and spoke in a sharp voice. Not bad. You're very vigilant. Yi Emo knew that this person was the man who scanned him with spirit sense. Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, his eyes were very small, and was probably stronger than the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor he killed. I already opened the valley. You can go find your things. Why are you following me? Yi Emo said. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said, I know you found the entrance, and there's plenty of good things in here. But the valley is very big. I'm in no rush. I do have some private matters with you. Yi Emo looked calmly at this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor and didn't talk. He was thinking about if they would be evenly matched or if he would win. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor continued, Other people think you're Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor or above, but only I know you just reached Tao Molding Divine Emperor. I admit your stealth cultivation method is the best. It's extremely natural. If you didn't fight, No one would think you're a divine emperor. If you have something to say, then hurry up. I'm busy and don't have time to waste with you. Yi Emo said with impatience. A sliver of sharp ray shot out the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's eyes, but he didn't get angry. He calmed down again and said, Other people don't believe little white-faced Jian Kuei's words, but I do. You not only have the bottom of the gourd, but you also have a dagger that can dig it out. I'm very excited to see this dagger. I won't rob you. Hand over the dagger and gourd bottom. I will get the gourd from the woman. Yi Emo knew that someone would remember when the little white face said he had a dagger. Leave your storage ring and piss off. Yi Emo said and released Zisu. He hacked out crevice god art. This purple ray sliced across space and didn't gather void lethal force slowly like before. It swept the nearby space and smashed over. The endless lethal force completely bound the space, making the person unable to escape. Compared to crevice, Yemo's move was tens of times stronger than before. Seeing that Yi Emo dared to attack him first, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was furious. He waved up a golden rain that shot out countless powerful long nails in the air blocking Yemo's crevice. Crack! Explosions sounded non-stop. The purple sword ray went from 30 kilometers long to only 3 kilometers long, but the golden nail rain thinned down. After some ear-screeching sound, the nail rain stopped and Yemo's crevice disappeared. Yi Emo attacked first, but he casually stopped Yemo's crevice. However, he stared at Yi Emo in shock. Did he see wrong? A Tao molding divine emperor stopped his Tai Chi abstruse water nails in one move. Yi Emo tested that this man was much more fluent in his control over Tao wave laws. Although he just mixed in some simple space law in that move, it crippled under the rain. Before Yi Emo could recover, the water nail formed tens of long rivers and shto at Yi Emo. It wasn't actually a river, but countless nails that formed a river of nails. The nails were golden colored before, but when it completely surrounded Yi Emo, they turned dark red. A corrosive chi came. Yi Emo's face changed. This nail magic artifact was too evil. Nails were usually small, hidden, and sharp used for ambushing, but this person's nails were dominant, powerful, and wanted to corrode the entire landscape. Even if he forcefully break free from the SPAC, he would be swept by the Nail River. If he didn't go into the Golden Page world, Yi Emo was certain that he would die even with his immortal god body. The 36 lightning orbs could block the river, but Yi Emo didn't want to use it. It wasn't that he was afraid of this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor finding out he had all 36, but there was another person watching on the side. As the nail rivers fell, the corrosive chi grew stronger. Yi Emo didn't dare to hesitate and used a huge painting that shot out countless golden rays. These golden beams soon formed golden waves. On top of the waves were tens of golden robed monks. As soon as they came out, their metal staffs smashed with the nail river, creating a huge explosion. The nail river blasted apart. Black water flew everywhere, and nail beams shot, but the dominant force was stopped. When the nails struck the monks, their bodies soon dimmed and dissipated. However, those monks with more golden shines still stood. Adamantium Great Vehicle, painting the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor called out in shock as his eyes shot out more greed. At the same time, Yi Emo hacked with Zisu again, but it was his new god art this time, falling Mark Sword Rune. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. $2056 Want Dragon Race God Froe. $2056 Want Dragon Race Godfrey seen Yemo use Sword Rune again. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately focused. He had seen this before, and it almost hacked a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor in half. Although it was an ambush, it didn't mean the Sword Rune wasn't terrifying. The water needles formed a needle river again, sealing all the space around it. However, the falling Mark Sword Rune's power was on a completely different level to Crevice. Although this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately sealed the space the Sword Rune was heading to, the Twisted Sword Rune still tore open the Nail River. The Nail River seemed to have suddenly broke apart from the middle, and the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's figure showed. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's face changed. He knew Yi Mo's Sword Rune was powerful, but didn't expect it to be able to tear open his Nail River. At the same time, he released another towel. With a heavy thud, the two sword runes were stopped by this towel. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor breathed. The next moment, his force rose drastically. He shot out that needle again, while the towel formed materialized space that wanted to seal Yumo's escape. Great Primordial God Rune. At the same time, Yemo waved out another 2 runes. These 2 runes were very subtle and looked not much different to the other 2 runes. However, there was a fundamental difference between them. These 2 runes instantly came before the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. A terrifying, dark, gray, destructive chi swept over. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor shivered as though next moment his body would be ripped apart by the 2 convoluted ripples. Great Primordial God Rune. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor instantly burned his essence, chi, and life like crazy when he recognized the Great Primordial God Rune. He broke free from the Great Primordial God Runes and instantly left. Yi Mo's Great Primordial God Rune didn't improve much, but due to his power increasing, it was much stronger than before. At the same time, this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was much stronger than the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor he killed. He was very decisive in burning his life and fled away. But Yemo clearly saw that when the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor disappeared, he was completely aged. Splurge! The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor left so desperately that he didn't even have time to take his magic artifact. The towel was torn to pieces by Yemo's Great Primordial God Rune, and Yemo took the Tai Chi Abstruse Water Nail into his storage ring. Yemo looked at the direction the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor disappeared and didn't chase. At the same time, he cared more about the Great Primordial God Rune. 2 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor immediately fled upon seeing the Great Primordial God Rune. One could see just how terrifying the Great Primordial God Rune used to be. He had many ways to kill this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. He could use Instant Second and kill him with Great Primordial God Rune. Even when the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor fled, Yemo could use the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination to shoot him. Yemo didn't do any of that because there was someone watching on the side. If he used Instant Second to kill the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, his power would greatly weaken. Luckily, he took the Abstruse Water Nail. It seemed like a good god artifact. Yemo just walked off without caring about the person on the side. When Yemo disappeared, an old man suddenly appeared. It was Mu Han, Divine Emperor. Mu Han stared at Yemo's figure and murmured, "This person is probably on par with me, and he's so calculative. How does he know Great Primordial God Rune? This is too terrifying." The reason he stayed here was because he thought the same as the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. He believed the pale-faced man, Yemo, not only had the gourd bottom, but also a powerful dagger. As for the 24 lightning orbs, he really didn't care as Yemo took out 12 and he checked. It was really ordinary. Although it was ordinary, he didn't believe Yemo could forge it. He was set on taking out Yemo, but when he found Yemo knew Great Primordial God Rune, He didn't want to mess with Yi-Mo at all. Yi-Mo stopped and took out a jade card. Inside the jade card, it showed Mu-Han Divine Emperor standing where he was with a surprised face. Yi-Mo sneered and put the jade card away. He knew it was Mu-Han Divine Emperor lurking in the dark. This guy was a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, otherwise he might force him out. After searching in the valley for half a day, Yi-Mo was disappointed. There should be many good things here, but he didn't find anything. The layout seemed grand. The deeper you were, the stronger the natural feeling. Luckily, the god spirit chi here was rather dense. Yi-Mo waved out small ginseng. Small ginseng, help me find if there's god spirit chi here? We can't go back empty-handed. Don't worry, boss. If there's god spirit range here, I can find it immediately. Small ginseng dashed out quickly. He would go back and show off to Shadowless later. Shadowless sat under the bitter bamboo and sighed, "Boss is getting more and more unfair. It's always me outside before, but now small ginseng goes out more than me." Chiu Rang called Shadowless Big Brother, but he didn't dare to offend small ginseng. He loved wine like his life. If he offended small ginseng, it would be hard to get wine. But he didn't dare to offend Shadowless either. He comforted Big Brother Shadowless. "You used to go out so often because boss needed your help in fight, Shet. Now your cultivation level isn't improving, and boss are always fighting divine emperors. They can easily annihilate you. Of course you can't go out." Shadowless glared. Chiu Rang immediately became scared and said, "Big Brother Shadowless, if you want to go out more, you have to get stronger. That way, boss would need you the next time he fought." "Improve my mass, I'm just an eater. If I don't have things to eat, how do I get stronger?" Shadowless sagged his head. "Boss, you come from Dragon Race. You probably know about Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit, right?" Chiu Rang carefully said, "I don't know shit. I was kicked out. Don't show off in front of me, kid. You were kicked out too." Shadowless said angrily. Chiu Rang smiled. "I'm different. I stayed at the Dragon Race for a while, and at least know where the Dragon Palace is." Seeing Shadowless about to get angry again, Chiu Rang immediately said, "Big Brother Shadowless, Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit is one of the most precious god fruits of the Dragon Race. It's said one can allow an immortal monarch-level dragon to break through. If you eat plenty of it, it's not hard to break through." Chiu Rang spoke with his eyes spinning quickly. Shadowless wasn't dumb and immediately stared at him. "Your eyes are spinning so quickly. Are you thinking of some scheme?" Chiu Rang saw this and quickly said, "Big Brother, I just want you to tell boss to bring us to the Dragon Race Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit Garden. I just want one. You know where it is." Shadowless' eyes spun and asked. He already considered the entire garden to be his, even though he didn't know where it was yet. Chiu Rang patted his chest. "Boss, as long as we get to the Dragon Race, I can find it. There's also a Tao fruit inside called Heavenly Fruit. It can allow someone to seek Tao. It's the top treasure of the Dragon Race. Many divine emperors go there to seek one, but they only have Heavenly Fruit Tree, and it only produces 3 fruits every 10,000 years." Shadowless laughed and patted Chiu Rang's head with his foot. "Not bad, haha. I'll take both of them." Seeing Chiu Rang's strange smile, Shadowless shivered and changed his word. "I meant boss would have it all. If boss has it, we would have it." "Chiu Rang, do you think I should tell boss quickly? Hun Tian Pan Dragon Fruit?" Yi-Mo repeated in confusion. If it could allow Shadowless to evolve, then of course he was willing to go, but he didn't know where the Dragon Race was. Just when Yi-Mo was going to ask Chiu Rang, his spirit sense scanned 2 divine emperors, stopping small ginseng. Yi-Mo was furious and immediately dashed to small ginseng and glared at these 2 divine emperors coldly. "You too! I opened the entrance to the valley and let you guys in, yet you want my immortal pet. People really can't be nice these days. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.